The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, what up? This is Rocky Asuka Romero of Chaos, and you are listening to Keepin It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the Fantastica Mania tour, answering your questions, and covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Young boy, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Just drinking this power shake here, trying to get ripped,
Trying to get some gains.
trying to make them gaints.
Nice, man.
Not gains with the with a T and a Z at the end.
Oh, man.
And I promise my phone will not be making any unplanned interruptions. I've silenced everything.
Let me make sure I got mine on sound.
Oh
Now you say that.
Oh my gosh.
They be chirping. Oh man, it's a good joke for you longtime listeners.
I don't think anyone else remembers that. That's just something that you, me, and Rich laughed about.
Yeah, it was from the New Japan Cup, the first ever New Japan Cup review we did. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, if you guys don't remember, it's I think we were doing the preview or one of the reviews, and
right.
My iPad kept going off because I'm not good at technology, so I hadn't figured out how to silence it. And you're like, man, quiet it down. And I was like, man, they keep hitting me up.
They be chirping.
I don't even know who says that. What does that even mean?
The young boy.
Oh my God,
man.
So how come no one wanted to come co-host on this week's episode? Usually we get people being like, oh, can I come on for this? Can I do Power Struggle? Can I do, Wrestle Kim? Ain't nobody hit us up and be like, I want to be on the Fantastica Mania episodes.
I want to talk about the CMLL family tournament.
I need to talk about Dolce Gardenia and Negro Casas.
Yeah. Fantastica Mania tour. Definitely one of these times where a lot of New Japan fans kind of check out and not really always paying attention to the product. They might watch a match here and there, but hey, it's still New Japan action. New Japan guys on it. So,
did you listen to the newest New Japan official English podcast with Chris Charlton?
I did, yes, with Chris Charlton and Carl Fredericks.
Yeah, there's a point where Fredericks was talking about how last year when he was on the New Beginning USA tour and everyone was disappointed because of the visa issues, which I can't believe that was a year ago. It doesn't even seem like it was a year ago. But he was saying that when Shibata-san came out and made the apologies, it's like, we apologize, we weren't able to get the visas. And he was like, but I am New Japan. Fredericks is New Japan. Connors is New Japan. And I was thinking to myself, Soberano Jr. is New Japan. Audaz is New Japan.
Stuka Jr.
Forastero, New Japan.
Namahage. Oh, man.
Fantastica Mania is New Japan.
Yes. And you mentioned New Beginning in USA. We'll be at the New Beginning in Tampa, technically St. Pete, this coming up Friday, and they're
giving them the Rays treatment.
Right.
Talking about some Tampa Bay Rays or some Tampa Bay New Beginning, but y'all playing in
St. Pete.
Y'all playing in the Berg.
The St. Pete Coliseum. There will be a New Japan fan meetup before the show. We're going to be meeting at the Old Northeast Tavern, which is on 201 7th Avenue North Street in St. Petersburg, Florida, at 6 p.m. That's the Old Northeast Tavern. We'll be tweeting about it and sharing the location, the link. So,
and if you guys didn't catch that, we are hosting this New Japan fan meetup. This is the first ever Keepin It Strong Style in association with Social Suplex Podcast Network. New Japan fan meetup. I'm excited for it, man.
Yep, in association with some other Florida friends too that we've made along the way that are joining forces here. So we're trying to get all the New Japan fans across Tampa.
I think we should call this New Japan United.
Yes, Lion Mark United. So definitely, if you're coming to this Tampa show, come on out to the Old Northeast Tavern, grab a drink with us, grab some food. Let's have some good times before we roll over to the show.
We got anything to give away?
I do have an extra Kojima T-shirt, unopened, fresh from Japan.
Yeah, and I got a little trinket, a little morsel, if you will, a little something that maybe we could do a little raffle.
Yeah.
Some raffle action. So if you guys want to be part of that, make sure you're there at 6 p.m. and it's going to be awesome. We're going to have a drink or two or three or four. The show starts at what?
I believe 8 p.m.
Oh, man. 2 hours to kill? Psh, boy. Yeah, we're going to kill it.
So looking forward to that. It should be a great time. But yeah, let's jump into this Fantastica Mania tour. Dude, and I think we say it every year, but the music for Fantastica Mania, it slaps. Dude, yeah. I get so hype hearing that music.
Negro Casa! Flyer!
Yeah.
Some of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's great. So we had 4 straight nights here at Korakuen Hall. We had a lot of big matches. We had the traditional CMLL family tournament. We had some singles title matches, some singles matches. So overall, young boy, what did you think about Fantastica Mania 2020?
Going to the overall right off the bat. Not as a recap, but as a precursor.
Yeah.
I like it. So this is what I'll say. And it's some of the same sentiments that we share every year when it comes to this show, but maybe some of these are a little bit more pronounced than normal. When it comes to Fantastica Mania, it's always like we've mentioned, a departure from what you're used to getting throughout the rest of the calendar year. Obviously, it's a gimmick / co-promoted show between New Japan and CMLL, and it's supposed to be like the highlight of CMLL's tour in Japan, basically kind of showcasing some of the best of Lucha Libre over here, in the land of the rising sun. That being said, a lot of it's non-canon. A lot of it kind of exists in its own, little tour format, like however many nights they run, 11 or 12. Usually there's only like 4 or 5, in this case 5 nights that are actually made available on New Japan World for the regular viewing audience. And, these are usually easy to watch shows, which I would agree they definitely were. Usually about 2 hours?
Yeah, like 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and a half. The max, I think the longest show was. Yeah, it's real easy watch, 2.5 hour show. Some really good matches on there.
There were some good matches. I will say that normally we usually get something that approaches great. And in over the past few years that we've been covering this tour, I would say, for my taste, there was nothing that I would really classify as being truly great. But still really good shows. Some of the drawbacks. Last year, I liked that even though it was its own tour, we kind of got the buildup of 2 different feuds on the tour, as Sho and Yo kind of took up their
Fujin and Raijin.
And they were kind of feuding with was it LIJ at the time? juniors.
Wasn't it Suzuki-gun?
I wanted to say it was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't because I'm pretty sure Desperado was
He's Namahage.
under
Right.
Namahage, and I'm pretty sure Shingo and Bushi were still the junior champions.
Right, I think you're right, yeah.
So they were able to kind of build a feud between them that kind of translated into New Beginning proper, which I liked that.
Right.
They also did a series of matches that built to the feud between Taguchi and the junior champion at the time,
Taiji Ishimori.
Taiji Ishimori. On this tour, we didn't really get that. So that was one slight drawback. We didn't see that. The other thing, it doesn't happen every year, but sometimes we get title changes on these tours.
Right.
We didn't get any title changes, so that was kind of a drawback. And for the most part, I would say about 95% of the performers that were here were guys that we're used to seeing over the past few years. So there wasn't too many big new names that were kind of like surprises. We also didn't really get Atlantis, which we get Atlantis almost every single year.
Right, Atlantis and Atlantis Junior.
Last year.
Right, yeah.
For the first time. So we didn't get that. I know we haven't seen it in the past few years, but in the past we've also had, if there was like juniors that were doing their excursions over in CMLL, they would usually get a chance to work these Cork and Hall shows. Obviously, we know that Hirai Kawato, or as he's known, or their Kawato-san. I think that would have been a good opportunity to kind of, reintroduce him to some degree and have him work these shows. I know in the media when he won the CMLL World Lightweight Championship, he had discussed how that was one of his goals, was to return for the Fantastica Mania tour, and he wasn't on this tour either. So there's like a few things that like are kind of drawbacks to me. The shows were good. It just sort of felt like a Fantastica Mania tour by the numbers, if that makes sense.
Right. It's one of these tours, like, if you are, quote unquote casual New Japan fan or New Japan fan, and you decide, you know what, I'm gonna skip this tour, you really didn't miss much. Like, you can jump into New Beginning coming up.
There's nothing canon here,
right?
Really.
The main thing they did kind of plant the seeds for was Tanahashi versus Naito, which they did on night one in that 6-man tag. In the comments, Naito was making post-match. And then plus Tanahashi was against LIJ this whole tour.
Yeah.
So they're kind of planting seeds and foreshadowing a Tanahashi, Naito, Tanahashi against LIJ kind of rivalry there.
We also saw interactions with Tanahashi and Shingo once again, which kind of harkens back to the tag match they had during the Road to Tokyo Dome. Mm-hmm. And where he had defeated Shingo by roll-up when Shingo had thought that he'd pinned Tanahashi. Nothing quite as definitive in their interactions, but you could kind of tell that there was some heat between them. I'm guessing based off that. So a little bit of a breadcrumb. I won't be surprised if we see some sort of singles interaction between them down the line this year. I'm guessing I would be surprised if they're not in the same 1G1 block at least this year.
Right. And then also with that LIJ team, also we had the Never 6-man champions, Shingo, Bushi, and Evil teaming a lot.
Yeah.
And kind of, I think even though obviously there was no rivalries really established moving forward, they established that Shingo, Bushi, and Evil are a strong unit and kind of getting the momentum leading into the title matches coming up on the Road 2 show.
Oh, you think so? They're a strong unit? They have the strongest mind.
I got a strong mind.
The strongest mind they've ever known. What was her quote?
That's what she said. She said she's got one of the strongest minds that she ever known.
They're one of the strongest units I've ever known. Did you know, by the way, did you know that the Most Violent Perverts had 4 title defenses going into Wrestle Kingdom this year?
I knew it was a small number. I knew it was like, 3 or 4.
That was their 5th title defense. That's a lot for the Never title. I think I wanted to say something about that because I think on a previous show I'd been like, I think they've had 1 or 2 title defenses in all these months, but nobody even corrected me on it or caught it because their entire reign was so forgettable.
Right, yeah, because literally the title defenses were so sporadic. It was like, by the 4th defense, like, is their first, second?
Are they still the champions?
Right.
They stopped bringing the belts out.
Right. Like, are they still even like sanctioned belts?
But a few other things here. So even though, okay, like if you just watch these going in cold and you've never seen Fantastica Mania, you probably would be like, this is a pretty good tour, and you wouldn't be wrong. But a lot of the matchups were like things we've seen year after year. This did not feel like a fresh Fantastica Mania to me at all. Like, yeah, we got a couple big title matches and the family tournament. We're going to talk about that, and that's fine. But almost all the talent kind of seems slotted in exactly the same places. Many of the tag matches were the same tag matches we've seen, or at least derivatives of them, similar feuds. We even got like the same finishes year after year, which would normally be fine if I thought it was like building off of previous year's story, but it didn't seem to be. It's almost like they forgot that they booked the same thing.
Right. It was almost like a Road 2 version of Fantastica Mania in a way.
Yeah, and there was some some bloggers and different online like personalities who follow Lucha Libre a lot closer than we do, and they'd kind of bemoaned some of the same criticisms that I'm levying at this show, but they were like, not excited whatsoever. And I was kind of more optimistic. I'm like, hey, this show always delivers. But I think a lot of the feeling that was out there for like the Lucha Libre hardcore fan base probably tended to be correct in that it was sort of like a Fantastica Mania by the numbers.
Right.
That being said, the guys that have performed well in the years past still performed well. The matches that I thought were going to be good were great, or were very good. Nothing was really bad. They were still fun shows, so I mean, there's not much to really complain about.
Even the stuff that wasn't really super high level was still kept very short.
Yeah, I just, sometimes I like for there to be a little bit, just something like a debut, someone new,
a title change.
Something, but we didn't get really any of that. And so that was my biggest, lament of the shows. It's like, man, I feel like I've watched these shows before, and to a large extent we have.
Right. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed all the shows. Yes, there was some stuff, I wish we could have got a title change. We could have gotten Dragon Lee, some more kind of implications for New Beginning. But overall, but overall, I enjoyed all 5 shows, especially the Cork and Hall nights I thought were pretty good. And they were, short, easy watches, easy to digest, and they were enjoyable. So overall, I mean, I really enjoyed the tour. I mean, next year I would like to see some more new blood on the tour. I'd like to see some, some title changes, some really high level stuff like we're kind of used to that we got in earlier tours. But at the end of the day, I can't really complain too much.
Well, they've talked in the past about trying to strengthen the relationship between CMLL and New Japan going forward, and they've been. I mean, this relationship's been going on since the mid 2000s. This is almost. I don't know if it is the 10th anniversary, but I think it is 2010. Yeah, 2010 is the first Fantastica Mania. That's when we got the Apollo 55. Versus Golden Lovers main event. So yeah, it's a decade. And they've been doing this tour for a while, but they've talked about maybe doing more things in the future, more talent exchange, maybe even running hypothetically a New Japan show in Mexico, which would be awesome. So I was just hoping for a little bit more, maybe like you kind of, obviously when you're watching Fantastica Mania, you always have Best Super Juniors in the back of your mind, someone who might break out. And I mean, there's a couple contenders, but there was no one here that really made a name for themselves. I don't want to say the guys were lazy. They weren't lazy. They worked hard, but there was nothing here where it's like, I'd really like to see like the Dinamitas come challenge, for the tag titles, or anything like that. There wasn't much for me to like really invest myself into, if that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's like you kind of watch this and it's like, all right, like what's kind of next?
Yeah, and some of the other guys that were kind of missing, if you noticed, we didn't get Mystico too.
That's right, yeah.
Which he's always a highlight for me year after year. Obviously, there's that probably plays into the fact that he's the brother of Dragon Lee and Roosh, and with all the issues between CMLL and them, I was still hoping he'd make his way onto this tour. We didn't get him. So, I mean, there were some bigger names that were kind of left off, which I was a little surprised about as well.
Yeah. So let's just go over some of the results from these last 4 nights, and then we'll kind of chime in on some of the key angles and key matches of the tournament here, or the tour here, and not, give the whole by every single match. So on the
do you want to list the results for every single night right now and then have a broad discussion, or do you want to discuss the night just in general?
what do you think would be better? Because I can do it either way.
Yeah, let's run down the night. We'll have a brief discussion of each night.
Okay. So
we don't have to give the play-by-play or anything like that.
Yeah, so we had the first Corkin Hall night on January 16th, and so we had Fuego and Ryusuke Taguchi defeating Namahage and Doki. And for you who don't know, Namahage is actually El Desperado. That was his gimmick in CMLL.
Wait, what? I would have never known.
And we did have English commentary, Mavs Gillis and Chris Charlton, and they did a great job of selling the whole, Namahage not being Desperado. And, he was joking, Namahage and Doki are working really well together. And, Namahage retired after last year's tournament, and now he's back. And so kind of playing up to the fact that he's not Desperado.
Before we continue, I think that's a good thing to bring up when we're talking about broad discussion of the shows. What were your thoughts on Mavs Gillis and Chris Charlton as a team on these 4 nights?
Overall, I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting because we haven't seen Mavs do any commentary in, feels like, all year. Like, I'm trying to remember the last time he did a show.
Yeah, it seems like a while, and it's probably one of those things that's like Fantastica Mania. Kevin Kelly is like, nah. Rocky's like, nah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh. Call in Mavs.
Yeah, that's true. It's just interesting because it feels like there should be other times that they're utilizing Mavs. I think Mavs is pretty good. I know he's gotten some criticisms in the past.
I think he's pretty good, and
he knows the product.
Right, yes. Yeah, he knows the product, he knows moves, he knows wrestling. And like you mentioned, there were some other tours last year where I think there wasn't English commentary.
Right.
And it's like, you got Mavs, like, work around his whatever sporting schedule he's doing, get him in here.
Yeah, I like the idea of having Mavs work more often. The one criticism about Mavs that I have is that he's seems to kind of have one gear, and it's almost. I don't want to say it's exactly the same, but sometimes it kind of reminds me a bit of Mauro Ranallo.
Yeah, where it's like high energy all time.
Yeah, but the thing is, when Mauro is great, Mauro is really great, and Mauro does know how to have different modes, but lately, especially when I'm watching takeovers, those shows, it's always super high energy. Mavs is kind of the same way, it seems like to me, but at the same time, he's still competent. Like, he's calling the match well, he's telling the stories. He just needs some refining, and I think that he would benefit from doing more shows for New Japan and maybe working with like a Kevin Kelly, someone who can kind of coach him just a bit, but he does a good job.
Yeah. So moving on to the results here. So we had Iodaz and Guerrero Maya Jr. defeating Luciferno and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. We had the LIJ trio of Evil, Shingo, and Bushi defeating Flyer, Dulce Gardenia, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And so this is kind of a talking point here. So throughout this tour, we kind of saw this little mini rivalry kind of going, if you want to call it that, between Dulce Gardenia and LIJ. Dulce Gardenia is I
think it's Dolce.
Dolce?
Yeah.
Okay. Dolce, he's a Exotico from CMLL. And so, his whole gimmick is, he was trying to kiss the LIJ guys and, very flamboyant. And so this was kind of a running kind of gag / story throughout the whole tour, starting in this match right here.
Yeah, Gardenia, I was not aware of this, but one of our listeners had pointed out that recently Kawato-san had lost a hair versus hair match in Mexico, and it was to Dolce Gardenia, which I was not aware of till literally very recently when someone posted it on the New Japan Reddit. And so that's kind of that's a big vote of confidence. And I will say this, whatever your feelings are on Exoticos, there's some people that love them, some people that hate them. It's a huge part of the rich history of of Lucha Libre. I mean, it's a major part of that whole entire like history. But Dolce Gardenia is one of the most talented exoticos that I've seen in a long time. I wasn't too familiar with his work prior to Fantastica Mania, but he is one of the very few, maybe the only real breakout guys from Fantastica Mania as far as endearing himself to the New Japan fan base. And his mini rivalry that you mentioned with him trying to kiss the various members of LIJ, especially Shingo Takagi.
Yeah, Shingo was not having that. And, he had the backstage promos. He was like, don't play me. He's like, pick a type. You can't like all three of us. Like it's either me, Bushi, or Evil. He's like, don't play me. Pick one. So
I just think Dolce Gardenia does not only is he very athletic and he's a good wrestler, he's got solid fundamentals, but he really knows how to read a crowd. He really knows how to get the crowd into what he's doing. He tells a great story. And by the end of that first match, the Cork and Hall crowd loved him.
Yeah.
And he was probably, I'd estimate, to be one of the most over luchadors the rest of the tour. And this crowd was just so anticipating this spot that they teased night after night where he would continuously try to kiss Shingo. It was like really funny story.
Right. And then in an interview on the website, he said that Bushi is the best kisser. And he definitely had his eye on Bushi a lot in these matches. So yeah, it was a nice fun match. Crowd ate it up, loved Gardenia, but the LIJ team ended up getting the win here.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move on. We got Forasterio and Okamura defeating Titan and Stuka Jr., and this was setting up the singles match coming up for Okamura against Stuka Jr. And Okamura and Forasterio, they stole the masks of Titan and Stuka Jr.
Yeah, I was going to ask your opinion on that. So we don't watch enough Lucha Libre to say with any sort of real authority, but do you find the amount of matches where they're trying to steal somebody's mask in the on these shows to be like excessive?
It's a little overkill.
Yeah. I mean, we've discussed, so sometimes with these shows, you get a lot of dives, obviously, and that's great, Rich Latta Pro Wrestling, yada, yada. But sometimes there are some people who might say that you can never have too many flips. You know what I mean?
Right.
But sometimes I really question whether that is true or not, because at a certain point, it does become a bit of overkill. And, they're called high-risk maneuvers for a reason. And I don't want to sound too old school here, but you see so many of the same topes and so many of the same, torneos and things like that, that when a guy who incorporates his torneo as like a finish, like someone like, say, Soberano Jr., it almost becomes like it's hard for you to buy into it, or when everyone else on the show's done the same thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing dives. Don't get me wrong. I just think that, sometimes a little less is more. You want to do that when it means something. And if every single guy on the entire show is doing it, it's basically, it becomes like a headlock, or it becomes like a clothesline or a body slam. Like, it loses some of the effect. I know it's part of the art form, so I don't want to misspeak, but I kind of feel the same way about heels trying to tear off the Technico's masks, because it's like, bro, this is every match. And some of my favorite matches, when it's a blood feud or a heated like lucha brawl or something, involves a guy getting his mask torn or his mask taken off, that's great because it gets heat. But if everybody's doing it on the show, and it happens a lot on these
right,
shows.
and it's very similar. You hear a lot of bookers or promoters, excuse me, and wrestlers talking about when they set shows up, like all the guys should be kind of talking about their matches, so you don't do the same finish in every match. You don't want 2 low blow finishes. You don't want 2 distraction finishes. You don't want 2 DT finishes. You kind of want some variety.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like you sort of want a little bit of variety, and you want those moments to mean something. And if the guys are given the autonomy to just go out there and do it as much as they want, and everyone is doing it, then at a certain point, like for instance, we're going to talk about it, but there was a match where someone did get their mask taken off, And I almost didn't think it was going to happen at all. And so it did catch me a little bit by surprise, but I was like, it's happening every match. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
It loses some of the effect.
At this point, it's just cheap heat. Like, everybody knows everybody knows how disrespectful it is to take off a luchador's mask, especially when they haven't lost it yet. And in matches, that's actually a DQ if you pull their mask off. So people know it's definitely something the heel does. So it's cheap heat. It's like a back rake or eye poke at this point. And so it's happening in every match, and so it kind of takes away the effectiveness of it. But here they were trying to get some heat for the singles match with Stuka and Okamura.
Yes.
But we did see the mask pulling in a lot of matches.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the next match. We had Ultimo Guerrero and Barbaro Cavernario defeating Satoshi Kojima and Caristico.
You hate to see it.
Yes, I do. But obviously, this was building up to the CMLL Heavyweight Championship match with Ultimo Guerrero and Satoshi Kojima, and the NWA Historic Middleweight Championship match between Caristico and Barbaro Cavernario. And then we move on.
It was good.
Yeah, it was a good match. Then we move on to the Family Tag Team Tournament. So traditionally, I think this tournament started off where it was just a brothers, and then it kind of moved on to, I think they did like father-son combinations, right? With
2 years ago, they did the brothers tag team tournament, and then last year it became the family tag team tournament.
Wasn't it father and son last year? Or was it just all
it's family.
Okay.
And then
this year, it's once again
it's family. There were some father sons, but if you remember, like Ultimo Guerrero and
that's right, and Gran
Guerrero, who also was missing from this.
That's
tour.
right. Yeah, Gran Guerrero was not on this tour.
Yep. But we got Quattrero and Sanson defeating Soberano Jr. and Euphoria. Sanson and Quattrero, famous members of the new generation Dinamitas. They picked up the win here. I think they were the winners of the first year. I'm trying to remember.
No, so they actually, because the whole story was...
They went to the finals last year.
Right. The whole story was kind of building them up. They got third place the first year.
That's right.
Then they got second place last year. And then this year, obviously, we'll get to it. They get to the finals.
But they pick up a win here. I thought this match was fine. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. It was kind of short. It was 9 minutes, 50 seconds. Didn't overstay their welcome.
If I want to be a little in depth, I actually thought Quattrero seemed a little bit sloppy that night, if I'm being honest. And there was some weird stuff. But this was the match where we saw Soberano Jr. hit a swanton bomb off the Corkin stands.
Oh yeah, that was
which
dope.
was awesome.
Yeah,
it got a huge pop.
And Soberano and Euphoria. Soberano is Euphoria's son. Yeah. And Euphoria was the original Soberano. Don't know the history on why he changed from Soberano to Euphoria, but that's how that works out there.
Yep, Soberano was easily the standout in this match.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things. I know Soberano got a hard time during that Super Junior tag tournament a couple of years ago.
Well, if you remember, we had mentioned that we'd seen him on the Fantastica Mania tour prior to that, and I was vouching for him that whole tournament. I was like, hey, he's a lot better than this junior, than he was teaming. It was him and Volador.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, he's a lot better than this. And we're kind of seeing that here. Like, I think it is a hard transition sometimes for luchadors to transition and work the, the Puroresu style.
Right.
And they're not used to it.
And that's something we mentioned during those junior tag tournament matches. We talked about, he's probably still getting used to working with the Japanese guys. I mean, here on the CMLL tour, I don't think he worked against any New Japan guys. He was mainly working against CMLL guys, why he's having great performances. He's wrestling guys he's familiar with, the lucha style, the communication. So
also, he's worked in Japan a few years now, so there's not that unfamiliarity. I think some of the big criticisms at the time was the botches, that there was some sloppiness on his end, and I didn't see any of that on this tour whatsoever. I saw some people kind of commenting and saying he's really improved since the Super Junior tag tournament, but I wouldn't go that far. I would say he has improved, but what we saw during that Super Juniors wasn't even really him. I see improvements from previous Fantastica Mania tours, which he's great, and we thought he was great the moment we saw him, and he's awesome.
Yeah, so definitely he's going to be a guy that to kind of look out for in the future. It's kind of like the next kind of luchador star to kind of break through on a bigger scale.
I I think he has a really good shot working Super Juniors this year.
Yeah.
I think he's the one guy. Well, possibly we'll talk about it. I think Gardenia might have a chance, but he's the one guy that kind of fits the mold of what they're usually looking for. You know, you compare him to a Volador or a Teton or Caristico, guys that worked Super Juniors in the past. I think he could do it.
Yeah. So we had Sanson and Cortero pick the win up here.
Yep.
Defeat Euphoria and Soberano Jr., knock them out of the tournament. And then we had the second semifinal match where we had the brother duo of Angel de Oro and Nebra Roja taking on Negro Casas and Tiger. I believe Tiger is Negro Casas' nephew, I think the relationship was there. And so we had this matchup here, and man, Negro Casas
is awesome. Negro Casas is the best like senior wrestler like in the world outside of like maybe Minoru Suzuki. But
yeah, this guy's what, 60 years old, I think they said.
Yeah, Negro, bro. Every year that we've been covering this, I always tell you, because Negro Casas always gets announced and then gets pulled for various different reasons, and I'm always remember how disappointed I am.
Right? Yeah.
Because Negro Casas fucking rules. He's the man.
Yeah, he was awesome, and 60 years old, great shape, had a ton of fire throughout this whole tour.
Hard hitting,
yes, late in the strikes, yes.
Comedy wrestling, he still can go. He does the chain wrestling. He still has gas in the tank, man. He's awesome. I want to talk about Angel de Oro and Niebla Roja. I was not aware that. I knew Niebla Roja had lost his mask, but I was not aware Angel de Oro had also lost his mask.
Same here.
So when I saw them come out, these guys are like the spit. I know they're brothers, but they look identical.
They could be twins. I don't think they are twins.
I don't think so either, but they're like the Usos. Like if they weren't wearing different gear, I wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
Right. Same exact height, same hair length, same facials, same body build.
The other thing too is they've been baby faces for years now, and from what I understand in Mexico, they usually get heavily booed, and I think it's because the portrayal of them as like these smiley, like squeaky clean,
like, the super cheesy baby face,
just smiling all the time.
Rocky Maivia.
Yeah, and I see these guys, and I'm like, they need to be heels. Like when they were here, I was like, they absolutely need to be heels. But I've always been very impressed with both of them. Still impressed here. I thought this match was pretty, for all the praise we're giving it, I just thought the match was just okay. I thought Negro Casas was really the real standout in this match, but, the Chavez brothers end up picking up the win here.
Yeah, and that's Angel de Oro and Nebra Roja. And post-match, we had Sanson and Cortero come up to set up the tournament finals tomorrow, so it would be Angel de Oro and Nebla Roja against Sanson and Cortero, and then there will be the third place match. That would be Negro Casas and Tiger against the team of Euphoria and Soberano Jr.
So going into night 2, we had a match between Fuego and Ryusuke Taguchi taking on Doki and Lucifierno. One thing that you forgot to mention was Taguchi sodomizing people on the previous show.
Yeah.
I don't know why you didn't bring that up.
I think I tried to forget about it.
But all throughout the tour, Taguchi and Fuego pretty much were mostly picking up wins, being...
my dog Fuego was out there killing them dances, even with the dubbed over music. That man was just killing it with that dance, man.
Yo, I really hate a lot of the dubbed musics, but Fuego's dubbed music slaps.
Yes, it's fire. Comes out there. Just come out there doing the dance. Yeah, and he had like the blow up doll girl thing that he was dancing with too. That was hilarious.
Yeah, the commentary team was funny too. They're like, I don't know who this ravishing beauty is. I'm used to only seeing like Miho Abe and Peter, but this young lady, she is stunning.
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, Mavs and Chris, yeah, man, they did a great job with that like subtle comedy in between these matches. And there was also a small little story of like Suzuki-gun guys not really getting the best communication with some of the other CMLL guys they teamed with.
That seems to be a story most years. They tend to not being able to, like, even I remember in the backstage comments, like usually on these tours, the luchadors, when they're cutting promos in the back, very, very few of them are actually in character. Most of them are just like, I'm happy to be here. Even the heels, the Rudos and the Technicos are like, happy to be here, want to give my best showing, blah, blah. But then like Suzuki-gun guys are still in full character and like, we don't know what this guy is saying. They do it every year, so I love it.
So we had Fuego and Taguchi pick up the win here over Luciferno and Doki. Then we had a 6-man tag here with Okamura, Namahage, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. They defeated Stuka Jr., Flyer, and Guerrero Maya Jr.
And in this match, the big thing was, again, setting up the Okamura and Stuka Jr. Title match for later in the show. And they still continue to play on the mask pooling that you'd mentioned from the previous night. And towards the end of the match, Okamura was able to unmask Stuka Jr. and then roll him up for a small package when the referee's back was turned. And he got the 1-2-3 off of unmasking Stuka. So really got some good heat there. Overall, the match was just fine, but that was kind of the main the main portion that kind of like stuck out to people. I also want to say Guerrero Maya Jr. I thought was pretty impressive through most of this tour. Kind of relegated to a lower mid card sort of thing, but out of a lot of those guys, I think he's one of the few that kind of like stood out.
Yeah, I kind of want to see more of him. I mean, he's a guy, he has a pretty decent size, and he's also very athletic, a lot of great high flying. I wish we could have seen more of him in a one-on-one setting or maybe in a higher profile tag situation.
Him, I think for like the lower mid-card guys, the guys that didn't get a lot of showcase, I think him and Aodas are like the two that kind of stood out to me.
Yeah. And Aodas, actually in this next matchup here, he's a guy who in the backstage comments was saying, my goal is to be in Best of Super Juniors. I want to be in Best of Super Juniors. So kind of throwing that out there. I don't know if it's one of those things where he's pulling a New Japan and he's just saying what he wants to say backstage, or if there actually are plans to bring in Aodas in for Best of Super Juniors this year.
Well, even though I said he impressed in this next match, which was a 6-man tag team or a 6-man tag team match, it was LIJ, Shingo, Bushi, and Evil taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi, Aodas, and Dolce Gardenia. Aodas really didn't stand out too much in this match because, again, it was the Dolce Gardenia show, which kind of tells you who the company is looking to push between the two guys. Gardenia was a highlight, again, all throughout the match, and again, it was a continuation of the story we mentioned with him trying to finally kiss Shingo. It was for naught on this evening, but really good 6-man tag team match, and they just kept building off each other night after night, building the crowd up, anticipating that kiss.
Yeah. So next up, we had a singles matchup here.
Also, I wanted to point out, I liked on this tour that Shingo was beating guys with the pumping bomber.
That's right, setting up
a lot of the nights.
Yeah, kind of setting up like, yes, Shingo can put lower card guys away with the pumping bomber.
Yep.
And also something too with Tanahashi. Tanahashi was wearing face paint.
He does every year, pretty much.
Yeah, throughout the tour.
Remember, I don't think he was on the tour last year.
Yeah.
And remember we were disappointed by that?
Yeah. So, yeah, here we're rocking some face paint. There was one night where I swore he kind of looked like Sting.
Yeah.
Like 96 to 97 Sting with the face paint.
I think it was more akin to a hybrid Sting.
Yeah. Yeah, where he had like the black hair still, yeah. So LIJ get the win here. Then we get our singles matchup of the night here. We got Teton taking on Forastero.
Special single match.
Yeah. And I thought this was a pretty good match. And
it was pretty good.
One of the better matches of the tour.
Yes, I agree. Now, interestingly enough, this was so the night previously, Forastero had beaten Teton with an armbar, correct?
Right.
That was the second year in a row where Forastero was able to beat Teton with that armbar. And no one mentioned it. It didn't. I don't know if that was the intention, but I was like, did they just do the same finish and with the same guys 2 years in a row? But this was a really good match. We haven't mentioned it too much yet, but Teton really was a highlight on this tour, and he is every year.
Yeah, Teton is definitely one of my favorite luchadors that makes his way over to New Japan, and I've seen him a lot in Ring of Honor as well.
And Forastero was good here. This I would go probably 3.5 on this.
3.5, 3.75 in that range.
Yeah.
It was great kind of storytelling with Forastero. He kind of worked the arm the whole match and was looking for that arm bar submission again. throughout the match, but then Teton was able to kind of overcome and fight through and fight back and hit that the double stomp for the win.
The nice thing too, forget all the criticisms I mentioned earlier. When there was singles matches on this tour, they always delivered. None of them, like I said, were great. You know, they weren't like, you know, what you'd call like a notebook match or anything like that, but they were all really good and delivered to probably what your expectations were for the most part. So, and this was this kind of the start of that. This is a good match.
Yeah. So then we move on. We had Satoshi Kojima and Caristico taking on Ultimo Guerrero and Barbaro Cavernario. Once again, just continuing to set up for both of those title matches. This time, my man Satoshi Kojima gets the win for the team with that big running lariat. Kojima and Caristico pick up the win here.
Between the two tag team matches, this was the better match, and not just because Kojima picked up a win over Ultimo Guerrero, which was cool, but the interactions between Kojima and Guerrero were great every night, but I felt like they gave more to Barbaro Cavernario and Caristico in this match versus that first night, and so this was sort of a repeat, but a better version of the previous night's match. And so this was the match that kind of got me hyped for the title matches to come, honestly.
Yeah. So then next up, we had the third place matchup in the CMLL Family Tournament. So
Since that's what New Japan likes to do now, give us loser bracket matches when they have a four-way tournament.
Hey, I appreciate the loser bracket matches, like coming from amateur wrestling. There were a lot of tournaments like during my freshman and sophomore year where you kind of get knocked out, you lose one, but it's double elimination, so you kind of work your way back in and get third place and still kind of move on to like the next bigger tournaments.
Well, with double elimination, you can work your way back and win the whole thing, though.
Not in the high school. Like once you,
well, if it's double elimination,
like if you lose two, you're done. But so if you lost your first, so if you lose a match, you kind of work in that consolation bracket and you can win. You can get third.
Gotcha. Because in some tournaments, what they'll do is it's double elimination. So if you lose, you still can make it to a final match against the winner of the other bracket.
I wish they would have done that. I probably could have gotten more finals. But yeah, freshman and sophomore year, yeah, they had you like the consolation, like third place.
What do you mean win more? You didn't do no jobs. But
no, dude, freshman year, I absolutely
I'm glad
sucked.
that they did this losers bracket because, you know, the winner of this, it has big implications going forward for whichever winner, you know, tag team title implications. Yeah, I can't wait to see where Soberano Jr. and Euphoria go in New Japan after this.
Hey, man, we need some tag teams, so y'all want to stay for another tour?
No, but this was fine. I actually thought that this was one of the better tag team matches of the tour up to this point, honestly.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, once again, Negro Casas.
He's awesome.
Was the highlight here again, and
so I don't. He was a highlight. I thought Soberano had a stronger performance.
Yeah, Soberano looked great too, but I guess I was just more impressed with Negro Casas because I've never seen Negro Casas perform before, and just being at his age and the physique that he has, and just the fire and the strikes and just the storytelling that he does in his matches is great.
Well, there's a reason he was in that Liger four-way match when he had his Mexico retirement match, because Negro Casas in some ways is sort of a contemporary and almost a comparative figure in, you know, CMLL. You talk about a guy who has been able to go at the top level in the 2010s, the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s. Like Negro Casas is that dude. He's freaking awesome. For a long time, I used to kind of compare him to Ric Flair, you know, but I mean, in terms of longevity, I don't know. Negro Casas is still able to go at this age. You know, it's kind of crazy. But, you know, him and Soberano Jr. actually have been feuding in CMLL quite a bit. And you could tell in this match because they had really cool sequences.
There's a lot of exchanges and stuff between those two guys.
Yeah, but ultimately Soberano hit that incredible tornillo move that he uses. He hit it on Tiger, pinning him after a Canadian Destroyer. Really good finish to this match.
Yep. So Euphoria and Soberano Jr. third place in the CMLL Family Tournament. Then we move on to the finals of the tournament to determine first and second place. So we had Sanson and Cuartero against the Chavez brothers, Angel de Ora and Nebula Roja.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Did the Chavez brothers win it the first year?
I feel like they did.
I'm gonna take a look. What were your thoughts on this match?
So overall, I thought this match was really good. Sanson and Cuatrero, kind of a little bit of the bigger guys here, and the Rudos, the heels here in this match, getting the heat on Angel de Oro and Nebula Roja. I thought, the Chavez brothers I thought they looked really good in this matchup here. And I thought they told a great story with, Diamita, Sanson, and Cuatrero, because like we mentioned, so they kind of been building this throughout the Fantastica Manias. So in the first family tournament they did, Sanson and Cuatrero won that third place constellation match. Then last year they lost in the finals and got second place, and so then they were finally able to win the family tournament here.
Okay, so this is what it was. It was Los Guerreros Laguneros, which is Grand and Ultimo Guerrero. They defeated Dragon Lee and Mystico in the Brothers Tag Team Tournament last year, or
2017.
2018. And then in 2019, the winners of the family tournament were Dragon Lee and Mystico, and then they faced off with the winners of the prior year's tournament, the Guerreros, and then they beat the Guerreros, so it was sort of like vengeance. So neither of these teams have made it to the finals of this, even though they've been involved each year.
Yeah, I knew Brothers won it, but I forgot that it was Dragon Lee and Mystico.
Also, now I'm thinking about it, no Volador this year.
That's right, yeah, no Volador Jr.
Again, another big name missing. So, match of the tournament or match of the tour up to this point, in my opinion.
I think you can put it up against Teton and Frostero.
Yeah, I think I liked this just a bit more. I went like 3 3/4, almost 4 stars on this. I thought it was really, really, really good. I wasn't as impressed with this family tournament as the past 2 years' iterations.
Right.
I also don't think that this tournament final peaked as high as the previous 2 years at all. But with that being said, it's still a really good match, solid match between these guys. And I really dig the Dinamitas. They've been a standout the last 3 years.
They did a great job presenting these guys, a solid unit, all three of those guys, and just how dominant they were in the matches and in this tournament. I really like them, man. I know you said you probably wouldn't want them back in a tag title match, but
I didn't mean it like that. Like if they did bring them back, but I just don't know if there was enough investment to.
Right. I highly doubt they will come back, but I think it would be.
I would like them to break some of these guys out and maybe have them pick up a win over an actual New Japan tag team, you know what I'm saying, in the future. That would be something like that would be cool. But no, I see what you're saying. I agree. If you notice, this match had no tags, not a single tag.
That's right. That's something else we should mention. So all these tag matches were competed under Lucha Tag rules. So if you're new to Lucha, new to CMLL, Lucha Tag rules is where if the legal man gets thrown out the ring or rolls out of the ring, his partner can then come in without a tag and be considered the legal man.
It's also known as the AEW Tag Division Tag Rules. Exact same. If you've watched AEW Dynamite, you know exactly what we're talking about. It's the same rules.
Yeah, they have been trying to tighten up.
Those are the rules there, right?
No, they've been trying to tighten up on it. Yeah, apparently Jericho had a talk with the locker room about the tag rules and why tags are important. They need to hold the tag rope and all that stuff. So, all these tag matches were competed under Lucha Tag rules, which does make the match a little bit faster, a little bit more exciting.
I like it a lot. This match was awesome. Tons of dives, tons of awesome tag team work. The crowd was so into it. It was really awesome. It was a great match.
Yeah, great way to kind of close off that night and close off this year's CMLL Family Tournament.
So then, continuing on to night 7, we started off with Lucifierno and Namayage defeating Audaz and Yota Tsuji. Not much to say here, but one thing I want to point out: Tsuji in the past has discussed wanting to go to Mexico. Correct?
Right. Yes. Yeah. He's mentioned several times that when he goes on excursion, he wants to go to Mexico.
And I could see that possibly happening. His interactions with some of the different luchadors on this tour kind of show to me he could really play a really good monster big man type of character. Mm-hmm. He's very comfortable in that role, and I think that might be the right way to go with him down the line. I think it's I know that Yuya Uemura is also on this tour a bit, but for some reason Tsuji seemed more in his element in these types of matches, if you ask my opinion.
Right, and you definitely do need your brawlers in Lucha Libre. I mean, you can look at, CMLL, AAA. You can pick out some of the guys that are kind of the bruisers in there, like a LA Park kind of guy that's more
Ultimo Guerrero.
Yeah, Ultimo and Gran Guerrero. They're more of brawling type of guys. They're not doing all the much high flying. So, yeah, Tsuji.
I want him to go away and turn into Hechicero, come back with that Yave style, start rolling dudes up like he's Sonata and shit.
But yeah, Tsuji, he did you see that spot at the beginning where he did that pose of Audaz, and he did like that handstand kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, fun little opening match here. Tsuji getting some shine here, and Luciferno and Namahage pick up the win here.
Nice. After that, we had Flyer, Guerrero, Maya Jr., and Soberano defeating Suzuki-gun team of Doki and Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Tiger. And not much of a match, kind of short. I did like Soberano's pile driver on Doki. And I thought it was kind of funny, Doki being the guy from Mexico, but because he's that grimy, independent Mexico dude, he really cannot pick up a win against any of these CMLL luchadors.
Yeah, that's another story they've been telling, and they've kind of talked about this with, since Doki's been in New Japan, that he always kind of resented the big and bright lights of CMLL and the other bigger promotions in Mexico. He stuck to the indie scene, and, he despises kind of the CMLL guys, and so that kind of played into this kind of story here in this tour with Doki going up against these CMLL guys.
After that, we had Angel de Oro, Niebla Roja, and Titan defeating La Nueva Generacion Dinamitas. That's Cuatrero, Forastero, and Sanson. This was a preview match of a match that would happen the next night. The only difference is the Dinamitas are the reigning CMLL Mexican, well, not CML, the Mexican National Trios champions. They actually have one of the longest reigns in history.
Right, it's like over 800 days, over 900?
Over 900 days,
yeah.
Yeah, they've been holding, and for those that don't know, the Mexican National Trios Championships, these are some of the oldest titles in all of Mexico. They're not just strictly CMLL, even though CMLL is the oldest wrestling promotion in the world, and that still exists till today, even older than the NWA. The Mexican National Trios champions go back further than CMLL and have crossed multiple promotions, and so they're not strictly CMLL titles, even though they're kind of controlled and promoted there at this point in time. So, I mean, their title reign is extremely historic. They've got so many title defenses, but I thought it was kind of weird that they were doing literally the exact same match they would do the night after this with the exact same guys. Just this was non-title.
Right. It's almost like, to me, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, if you didn't know the card ahead of time, like, this win here would have earned them the title match the next night. But
right.
The title match was already booked anyway.
Well, the Dinamitas also had a 6-man tag. We didn't discuss it too much, but on the first night that was aired, and they lost on that show as well. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, aren't they the Mexican Trios champions? And then I went and looked, and I was like, oh, they still are. And I was like, that's weird. But part of the story here is Forastero and Angel de Oro and Titan having the match the previous night, plus the Chavez brothers and the other Dinamitas members. So it was sort of like an amalgamation of all those teams, kind of meeting here. I would say this was sort of like what you'd call, I guess, a preview match for the rematch that was coming the next day for the titles.
Right, yeah. I thought it was a good preview match, kind of get you hyped up for the title match tomorrow.
Yeah, there was some really good work throughout this match. I'd go like 3.5 on this one, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.25, I don't know.
Yeah. So then up next, we had the NWA World Historic Light Heavyweight title match.
Also, spoiler, the Dinamitas lost. So, I mean, that probably means that the Technicos are going to take those titles the next night, right?
Right, yeah. This title match here with Stuka Jr. defending against Okamura. And I think...
Do you need a history lesson on the NWA World Historic titles?
Yes, but real quick before we get on that, so this matchup here, I think originally was non-title.
It was.
But then due to the kind of build-up they've done and Okamura kind of antagonizing Stuka Jr.
Stealing his mask, pinning him.
Right, it turned into a title match. They did tease a mask versus a hair match, but that was not sanctioned, just a title match. But yes, go ahead and give us the history on the NWA historic titles.
Yep, so originally the NWA, throughout their rich, illustrious history, I think right now the only titles that are actually being promoted by the NWA are what? The world title,
the national title, the tag titles, and the women's title.
And the television title.
Right, yes, right.
So, but back in the day when the NWA was the major controlling power in all of pro wrestling, they had literally hundreds, maybe even thousands, more like hundreds. But I mean, throughout their history, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was approaching close to 1,000 when you're talking about regional, different weight classes, different, just promotions. Territory titles. I mean, there have been so many NWA belts out there. But in Mexico, there was originally 3 NWA promoted titles that were part of EMLL, which was the precursor or the previous name of CMLL. And those 3 titles were the NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship, the NWA World Middleweight title, welterweight, and the NWA World Middleweight title. So those 3 titles were controlled by CMLL. Eventually, they split off from the NWA, but they continued to retain the physical possession of those 3 titles and promoted them as the NWA World Light Heavyweight and Middleweight and Welterweight titles until 2010 when Blue Demon Jr. tried to get an NWA Mexico promotion going, and at that point they filed a lawsuit against CMLL saying that you're continuing to promote NWA belts that haven't been with your company for decades, and they asked for the physical ownership and possession of those titles to come back. So CMLL had to return all 3 of those world titles and then replaced them with very originally named NWA World Historic Light Heavyweight Championship, NWA World Historic Middleweight and Welterweight titles. So these are not those same belts that they promoted for all those years, but they're a spiritual connector to those previous titles.
Nice. So, yeah, good little history lesson there on these titles.
Dude, CMLL's crazy. They've got Mexican National Championships, the NWA World Historic Championships, and the CMLL World titles. So they've got, at least in many cases, 3 different, they've got the Mexican National, the NWA World Historic, and then also the CMLL World titles, amongst other titles. I mean, they've got like 15 or 20 titles over there, maybe more. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Talk about too many belts. Yeah. CMLL. But yeah, this match here, dude, I really enjoyed this match more than I thought I was going to. I mean, Okamura is a guy we've been seeing year after year, and he's fine. But this matchup here, these guys had great chemistry. And
dude, Stuka Jr. is over 40 years old too. Like neither of these guys are spring chickens.
Yeah.
Like, I did not expect much from this, like literally at all. I was glad to see Mima Shimoda out there.
Yeah, we see her. She accompanies Okamura throughout these tours and always finds her way getting involved in these matches.
Yep. But this match was so much better than it had any right to be. I actually liked this better than any other match up to this point in the tour at all. Like, yeah. I was super high. I went like 4.25 on this.
Nice. I've seen a lot of people kind of go in that 4-star range. I think I was 3.75 or 4 stars, I think.
This was so good.
Yeah, this was a really good singles match, dude. Stuka Jr. doing the Orange Cassidy hands in the pocket, dive to the outside is awesome. Like you mentioned, Mima was out there. She got involved. She got suplexed onto Okamura towards the end there. It's a lot of great spots. And Stuka Jr., man, for being his age and his, he's a little bit thicker than, most high flyers. And that guy was still flying around, hitting those ropes hard with intensity and flying all over the place.
Yeah, man, there was some really cool stuff here. Okamura using his heel tactics. He stole Stuka's mask. At one point, Stuka went for the torpedo splash, and Okamura was able to counter it and roll through for a near fall. Lots of back and forth action, but eventually Stuka was able to put him away and retain his title. Keep in mind, Stuka is in the middle of a 500-plus day run with this title as well. So, I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah, great matchup here. Definitely recommended match to watch from this tour. So then we move on. Another 6-man matchup here between LIJ, Evil, Shingo, and Bushi taking on Dulce Gardenia, Fuego, and Risuke Higuchi.
The main thing here, it's a lot of the same things we've kind of mentioned, but the big part was Dulce Gardenia going to go for one too many kisses, and Bushi sprayed him with the mist for his trebles, and they ended up rolling up Fuego for the win.
Yeah, and he accidentally kissed Taguchi at one point when Taguchi was like stunned for like the rest of the match.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh.
So the next match, another singles match. This is for the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship. Now, keep in mind, here's something very interesting. Most companies, I would say almost virtually every company, when you have a World Heavyweight Championship, that's primarily going to be your top title in that company. In Mexico, in most companies, it's never been that way. More recently, in the past decade, AAA introduced their Mega Championship, which essentially is a World Heavyweight title. But prior to that, almost every single Mexican company, if they had a World Heavyweight title, it was not their primary championship because they have weight classes. And most, Mexican wrestlers and luchadors are well below the heavyweight limit. The heavyweight titles never seem to be held by top guys, you know what I mean? Or,
right. It's almost like a UFC situation where, like, if you have a star that's the light heavyweight champion, then at the time that's going to seem like it's a top belt. Whoever's the top star in the weight class and gets over more is going to be kind of like whatever the top belt kind of is.
That's actually a great analogy because throughout the history of the UFC in particular, there have been some big stars that have held the heavyweight title, but there's a lot of guys who have been lower drawing acts who've held that title and were nowhere near the star of, say, like many of the middleweight, welterweight, light heavyweight, champions. Very similar in Mexico. So even though this is Satoshi Kojima challenging for the World Heavyweight title of CMLL, this is by no means the top title in CMLL. In CMLL, the top title, and you might ask, well, what is the top title? Whoever the top star is,
exactly,
whatever belt they're holding, that's usually, now throughout history, there've been, there are some belts that are more prestigious than others, but the World Heavyweight title is not one of them. With that in mind, you have Ultimo Guerrero, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer when, his time comes. And, him and Satoshi Kojima, we got a great build to this match all tour. And this was a match that I had said previously that I thought was going to be a sleeper hit and really deliver. I do have to say, I enjoyed this match. I was a little bit disappointed. It wasn't quite what I thought the previews kind of showed us it could have possibly been, but all in all, still a good 13-minute kind of brawl.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. One of my favorite matches of the tour. I was pretty high on this match. I was like in a 3.75 range here for this matchup here. I thought Kojima looked really great. A lot of these third-generation guys, they're retiring or falling apart, considering retiring. And I thought Kojima looked really good. There wasn't really anything that he did personally where I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy needs to get out the ring. There was one scary spot where he did a Frankensteiner, and landed on his shoulder.
Oh, you know what? We forgot to mention, Kojima's been doing outside planchas.
Yes, he's been doing love it. I love it. This man, yeah.
They're terrible, though.
They're better than Nakanishi's.
I was going to say, I don't know if they're better than Nakanishi's.
Yes, dude.
Bro, because Nakanishi at least clears the ring. Like, Kojima, the first night, he freaking hit the apron on his way down. I think his foot hit the ropes. It's kind of, oh my God. But that being said, you're right. I don't think either man did anything. I think it had more to do with the layout of the match. They tried to have a lucha plunder brawl. It was kind of slow and plodding. They were kind of, outside doing a lot of crowd brawling for long periods of this match. So I think that didn't really help too much. I would have much rather seen them have like a
never style.
Like a lucha rezu, some never striking with some lucha stuff kind of kicked in. What you kind of see from Ultimo Guerrero in Mexico, and I was hoping for a little bit more of that. But ultimately, I thought the match was good.
I did notice that when Guerrero hit the Guerrero special, the crowd barely reacted because I don't think they thought that was the finish. And they were kind of deflated a little bit when Kojima didn't kick out.
Yeah, so was I. Even though I knew that he wasn't going to win this matchup here.
The match was fine. The one thing I will say is I kind of was hoping that maybe this would be something that endeared the New Japan office to take a look at this and be like, you know what? We need to give Kojima that one. This year, I want the Kojima G1 run. I don't think that this necessarily for sure detracted from it, but I don't think it helped, to be honest. Like, there's nothing that I saw in this match where I was like, oh, Kojima needs to be in the G1. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then again, he's working with a luchador. They're both a little bit older, and so it might not be a big deal at all.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think, based on what I've seen, he can definitely go in the G1. But again, like you were saying, he didn't really do anything completely blow away to be like 100% lock him down. He needs to be in there.
It was just interesting how this was the match I was most anticipating going into this night. And I ended up loving Stuka Jr. and Okamura much more, and that was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. Then the main event, we had the Black Cat Memorial match that featured Negro Casas, Euphoria, and Barbaro Cavernario taking on Caristico, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Tiger Mask.
This was fine. Nothing really blow away, but I thought the Negro Casas Tiger Mask interactions where they're just slapping the crap out of each other was really awesome. Also, the back and forth between Negro Casas and Tanahashi just felt really kind of surreal. like what the heck? We're getting Tanahashi and Negro Casas in a match going head to head. That's kind of cool. Otherwise, it was a fun showcase match.
Yeah, and then obviously in memory of Black Cat, and his family was out there, and kind of they've been doing this a lot on the Fantastica Mania tour since he's passed away, kind of honoring Black Cat.
And then that takes us to the final night of Fantastica Mania Tour 2020, Night 8. We started off with tag team action, Taguchi and Fuego defeating Doki and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Just continuation of the sodomy storyline we've had.
And also Doki eating the pin on every single match on this tour that he's been on.
Not surprised. After that, we had Tiger Mask defeating Tiger. I'm assuming they put this match together because it's two feline-based characters.
Yes, 2020 is the year where we're getting similar gimmicks versus each other. We're getting Cavernario versus Caveman Ugg at WrestleCon Worldwide. Here we got Tiger Mask versus Tiger.
5-minute match, very generic. Don't have much to say. One of the lower performing. I mentioned earlier on the show, I was like, man, when they do singles matches on this tour, they really deliver. Well, this is the exception to the rule.
It was. Yeah, not this. Yeah.
After Tiger Mask ended up hitting a Tiger Bomb and a Tiger Suplex put Tiger away. After that, we had Guerrero Maya Jr., Flyer, and Audaz defeating Namiage, Lucifierno, and Euphoria. I thought that this was pretty good.
Yeah, it's fun.
The Corkin crowd really loved it, and this was a true luchador style match. And
I thought Audaz looked pretty good in this match.
Yep. I think Audaz and Guerrero Maya Jr. were real standouts during this tour for sure. Entertaining match for these guys, here on the Fantastica Mania Tour. After that, we had Shingo, Bushi, and Evil defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, Dolce Gardenia, and Yuya Uemura. And this was the culmination of the tour-long story of Dolce Gardenia trying to kiss every member of LIJ, especially Shingo Takagi. And in my opinion and estimation, by far the best match of the six-man tags that LIJ had.
Yes, and honestly, the best stuff in this match was Yuya Uemura and Shingo towards the end, man. They had a great closing stretch here, and Uemura getting some really great near falls on Shingo, and the crowd buying it, the crowd wanting Uemura to pin Shingo, and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here was the tour-long kiss storyline eventually paid off. Dolce Gardenia fooled Shingo and countered a clothesline with a kiss, which at that point, like, the Cork and Hall crowd just literally exploded.
Huge pop, Road Warrior pop.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a bunch of other, like, kisses, people missing kisses, and all sorts of stuff. I did hear that the crowd was chanting beso, which is kiss in Spanish.
Yeah.
And like he made Tanahashi and Evil accidentally kissed, and then he kissed the referee, then kissed Evil, who ran and tagged Shingo. Even Jushin Thunder Liger was like chanting Beso on commentary, so it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and then there was the big kiss to Shingo, which led to Imura cradling Shingo right afterwards in a super hot near fall. The crowd wanted it.
I could have I thought for a second, I was like, they really did this just now, but they didn't.
Yeah, Shingo eventually rebounded, Saito suplex and pumping bomber knocked Imura's head off.
I mean, what I'll say here is, they took a really simple and sort of dumb storyline involving a kiss, and they developed it throughout the whole entire tour and got a huge payoff. Dolce Gardenia got super over with the Japanese audience. I'm going to say this. I will not be surprised if he's in Best of the Super Juniors. Now, I know there's some people that are like, maybe didn't love the gimmick, or they're not as familiar with Exoticos, or they think that this is too silly for New Japan. Keep in mind, this is the company that has had Colt Cabana in multiple tournaments. They're the same company that pushed guys like Ryusuke Taguchi and Yano. I think that there is a spot for a guy like Gardenia on Best of the Super Juniors tour to kind of alleviate some of the load off of someone like Taguchi and provide comedic relief and kind of serve as like a junior Mexican Yano type character during Super Juniors. And he can go, and he can fly, and he can wrestle, and he gets huge pops. I think he's going to be in Best Super Juniors.
And like we mentioned, he defeated Kawato, took his hair, so...
And CMLL's really pushing him, and he's like made a name. He's the one true breakout guy during this tour. I'm not going to be surprised if he's on Super Juniors, like, at all. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen. We don't know anything. But, I mean, just judging off
based off the booking.
And the reactions and everything,
Yeah.
I think he's I'm not saying he's a lock, but I would say, like, I'm 70-30 that he's going to be in Super Juniors.
I mean, based off the booking, I could see it.
But how high were you on that match?
I was like 3.5.
I was like 3 3/4. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good match.
After that, we got Ultimo Guerrero, Negro Casas, Nakamura defeating Stuka Jr., Soberano Jr., and Satoshi Kojima.
Yeah, so it's, once again, just kind of closing the loop here on these rivalries that we had throughout the whole tour, excuse me. And with these guys, Ultimo Guerrero, Negro Casas, Okamura, taking on the guys that have been feuding with this whole tour.
Yep.
And it was a fine matchup here. Nothing kind of over the top here. But Negro Casas picks up a big win here on the last night of the tour.
And again, Soberano Jr. being the standout guy during this match. I would say that there's a good argument that Soberano Jr. might be the MVP of the tour.
Yeah.
And I think that he might have done enough to get himself a potential super. If you had to ask me two guys that might be Super Juniors bound, I would say Soberano Jr. and Gardenia, Dolce Gardenia are my two top picks for that, based off of what we've seen on Fantastica Mania. After that, we got the CMLL National Trio Championship as La Nueva Generación Dinamitas defeated Angel de Oro, Niebla Roja, and Titan.
Yeah, so obviously they've been kind of building this the whole tour with the brother tournament with the Dinamitas against the Chavez brothers and the Teton and Forastero feud. And then we mentioned we had the preview match the night before. So this was a kind of the big kind of culmination between all those rivalries that they've been telling over the whole tour, kind of combining the brother tournaments and that single rivalry with Teton and Forastero. And I thought this was a pretty good matchup here, but I gotta say, I think I like the preview match.
The preview match was better.
Yeah.
The preview match was better. Teton, to me, was the highlight of the match, as he most often is just a really great luchador. Finishing stretch saw the Dinamitas take out Niebla Roja with the chair, and then Teton stupidly took himself out with the Asai moonsault. So Angel de Oro was left alone trying to take on Cuatrero and Sanson. They used the Catapulta Dinamita to finish him off and retain the Trios Championship. So they cut off the members and isolated a guy.
Yeah, I think the preview match was wrestled more of the pace. Like Angel de Oro, Niebla Roja, and Teton were kind of pushing the pace in that match. And in this match, it was the Dinamitas that were kind of pushing the pace here.
That was, I think the first match was more of your traditional luchador-based kind of in-ring product, whereas this one was kind of all over the place. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't really connected. The finish was a little flat. There was just... I get the story, but the guys were kind of all over the outside area, and that created the opening for the Dinamitas, but it did produce not as good of a match.
Yeah.
And then the main event, the NWA World Historic Middleweight Championship, as Caristico defends the title against Barbaro Cavernario. And for those of you that don't know, Cavernario is my favorite luchador.
Yeah, and I'm very excited. Yeah, we saw him live WrestleMania weekend this last year in New York on the WrestleCon Super Show, and I'm excited to see him again coming to Tampa for WrestleMania weekend again. But yeah, definitely one of the standout guys in CMLL, one of their top stars, and had a great matchup here against Caristico.
Yeah, so this is the most indicative of what you might expect when you see big title matches in Arena Mexico from CMLL. Spot fests that culminate in big move after big move after big move with lots of near falls, lots of near submissions and finishes. The only big difference here was that this was a single fall match, whereas in Mexico you typically have 2 out of 3 falls for almost every match, but especially title matches. This played out similarly to how the third fall of a big title match in Mexico might play out. Very similar in some aspects to the way the Caristico Volador Jr. match was the previous year. The only difference here is Caristico was the clear Technico, while Cavernario was obviously the Rudo. Last year, I think Caristico was playing almost a bit of a Rudo character against Volador.
And plus, too, because they had Mystico on the tour as well. And obviously, there's kind of a history there between Caristico and Mystico. And so he was kind of playing the heel, the Rudo during that tournament, tour last year.
But both of these guys were able to bust out all their best moves, diving all over the place, lots of topes, Canadian destroyers, Hurricane Ranas. Awesome finishing stretch with Caristico resisting La Cavernaria submission hold, countered attacked with the top rope Spanish fly for a near fall, and then Caristico hit La Mystica, and Barbaro Cavernario immediately tapped out. I think for some people, when they watch this type of match, you either love it or you hate it. There's some people that don't like I don't want to say slow because it wasn't slow, but the way that there's like the measured big move, near fall, kick out, big move. There are some people who really hate that style and model of wrestling match, but for me, I love it.
Yeah, I honestly, this is my match of the whole tour. This is my favorite match of the tour. I thought this was the best match of the tour. I'm like in the 4-star range of this thing.
Yeah, it was like 4 and a quarter. Yeah. I liked it just slightly better than Okamura and who do you wrestle?
And Stuka Jr.
Stuka Jr. I mean, what moments stick out to you as being most memorable?
So obviously, always Cavernario's signature splash to the outside.
God, yeah.
I feel bad for his knees. Luckily, he's still pretty young, but yeah, those splashes always kind of look great. Also, the tease of Cavernaro's submission. They do a great job of pushing that submission on this tour and in CMLL. A lot of submissions, you'll notice that they lock them in. It's an immediate tap out. It's not the dramatic long.
Guys don't stay in those submission holds very long in Mexico. Especially if it's a finish. Mm-hmm. Once they hit it, it's pretty much over.
Right, they lock it in. They're wailing their hands, they're tapping.
And part of that is not just the fact that, like, in many cases, if you really think about it from a logical standpoint, if you really lock in a finish hold or a submission hold, like let's say it's a true shoot fight, and I'm wrenching on an armbar, if someone can fight out of it, it's usually because it's not fully applied correctly. But when you have something deep locked in, for real, most of the time the person's going out in short order, whether that's, they say tap or snap, or they say tap or take a nap. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of how it works in Mexico. But the other reason why is because they do so many 2 out of 3 fall matches that it doesn't really, in most cases, like if you're going to get a quick fall off of a submission hold, that needs to stay consistent throughout most matches. So, guys will get a submission hold. The other guy will tap real quick. That's the end of the fall. And so it's a byproduct of the type of wrestling that they do over there in Mexico.
Right. So I really like that, just the way they kind of build their submissions and how strong they kind of are. And so we saw in this tour, Cavernario finishing people with his finisher and tapping out real quick. And obviously La Mystica, I think it's kind of one of the most kind of popular armbar submissions in Mexico, kind of based off Mystico using it first and then kind of being passed on to the current Mystico, and now Caristico continues to use it. And so, yeah, it's kind of the teases of that, and just a lot of great spots. Obviously, Carisco for running Destroyer that looked great. Yeah, so many great, huge spots here in this match.
Yep, definitely the match of the tour. Caristico, after the match, took to the mic and claimed that CMLL is the #1 company in the world. And then he strangely challenged Barbaro Cavernario to a mask versus hair match. Barbaro just walked away and didn't pay him any attention. It was kind of weird and I thought the promo was a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah, well, they were teasing mask versus hair the night before, also trying to make you think the title match was kind of the same thing with the Stuka Jr. Okamura thing.
The only weird thing is every year during Fantastica Mania Tour, we get guys during promos talking about mask versus hair, or title versus mask, or the bet matches, the Apuestas matches, and a lot of times they don't end up happening. So I don't know. It's just weird. It's like guys wilding when they're over in Japan, just saying whatever they want on the promos.
Right.
You know what it is? They're trying to get those matches get the biggest paydays, and they're trying to work themselves into a payday, brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we close the show out. Everybody else on the tour kind of comes out to take their pictures. The music's playing. They sell their merch, and it's like a great happy ending to the show.
Yep. Best night I thought this was the best night of the tour easily.
Yeah, overall, best match. Best night of the tournament of the tour. And I don't know why I keep saying tournament. Best night of the tour.
I was surprised though. Oftentimes Cavernario usually stands out to me as being like one of the true standouts. And yes, he had a fantastic final match, but during most of the tag matches, he was just kind of there.
Right, yeah. He just kind of played the hits, so to speak, kind of hit his spots in those tag matches and didn't do anything overly, out of this world in those matches. Kind of reserved himself for the Caristico match.
Now, if we were awarding an MVP for the tour, I think there's two guys that really stand out as the true MVPs. It would be Soberano Jr. and probably Teton.
Yeah.
Who do you give the edge to? Because both those guys were probably the most impressive night after night, match after match.
I might go Teton just because he had a singles match against Forastero. Maybe if Soberano Jr. had a singles match on the tour, maybe he could have gotten the edge, but I think I'll give it to Teton.
Yeah, and I think I'm going Soberano Jr. just being a more fresh face, and we've seen him kind of fall flat before in New Japan, and he kind of really delivered in major ways. Teton obviously is still just so awesome. You can't go wrong either way, but I think that those are like the two standouts, honestly.
Nice. And so this kind of plays into questions. So we did have a question from Muzza asking, who from Fantastica Mania impressed you a lot? Who from CML would you like to see in Best of Super Juniors?
I'm going to kick it to you.
All right. So most impressed from Fantastica Mania. Also, I really liked Teton. Like I said, he was my MVP of the tournament. Thought Soberano Jr. was impressive. And then, like we mentioned, from that kind of undercard, middle of the card kind of pack, Audaz and Guerrero Maya Jr. were really impressive as well.
So let me take a look here. So this was a question coming from Muzza Murray. Shout out to Murray. So, the guys that really impressed me a lot, Soberano Jr. impressed me quite a bit. Negro Casas.
Yeah, it's another one. Yeah, Negro Casas impressed.
Teton. Dolce Gardenia. Audaz. Who was the other undercard?
Guerrero Maya
Jr. Those guys all really stood out. The Chavez brothers obviously are also, really, really good standout. So are the Dinamitas. Quite a few. As far as who from CMLL would I like to see in the Best Super Juniors, Soberano Jr. stands out to me. I wouldn't be opposed to Audaz, but I don't think he really did enough to really endear himself to the crowd. I think they should go with Gardenia. I really do. Also, especially if hypothetically, here's an interesting thing. Think about this. Gardenia had issues all tour long with who?
Bushi.
LIJ.
Yeah.
And then hypothetically, we've discussed if they bring back Kawato-san, where would he maybe fit in the best? LIJ, given the history between him and Naito and how they've always treated him and things of that nature. And if you bring him back and have him in LIJ, you've got a built-in kind of little rivalry there, especially I think that this might be something we look back as, maybe not, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a little bit of breadcrumb storytelling with Gardenia and Kawato-san in New Japan in the future.
Right. And even if Kawato doesn't join LIJ, if let's say he comes back for Best of Super Junior, they could still kind of replay that rivalry there as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
But I think it makes sense if they do LIJ.
Yeah, it does make a lot more sense.
And then, did you ask the other question he had?
So his last question was, speaking of Best of Super Junior, early Best of Super Junior winner.
I will not be surprised if they go El Fantasma this year.
Yeah, that could be the hot pick. I mean, won the Super J Cup last year, won 6 straight. Last year's Best of Super Junior. I'm just trying to think of like who the field's gonna be.
Ryu Lee would definitely be a possibility. He's never won it.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm gonna go Ryu Lee over ELP.
I'm gonna go ELP just because they're so high on him. I just really wouldn't be surprised if they end up going El Fantasma. I'd hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
I kind of want it to happen.
Why, to see me blow up?
Yeah. So we can get another young boy rant. We haven't had one for the year yet. So
we had our next question from Da Extinct One. He said, "What are your thoughts on Okada's comment on doing an Olympics-esque event with All Japan Pro Wrestling and Noah, similar to the All Together events from several years ago? Is it possible, despite the current relationships of the promotions, New Japan and Noah specifically?"
Yeah, so this is a story that I did have in the news. So Okada was interviewed during the Tokyo Sports when he was getting his awards, and he said, with Tokyo 2020 coming, I'd love to have a huge pro wrestling event, one that beats out the Olympics, involve the best from all sorts of organizations, show the power of pro wrestling is far greater than amateur wrestling at the Olympics. And then he did mention wanting to get, Kento Miyahara and what's the other?
Kito Kiyomiya.
Yes, Kiyomiya.
I actually think that many people think that this is going to be the catalyst for cross-promotional show involving the top stars from these 3 big companies. But I actually think that this is going to be the catalyst for a Inokiism-esque matchup between whoever the top amateur wrestler from Japan is entering the wrestling ring to take on the ace Okada. They're going to resurrect the WWF Martial Arts World Championship and award that title to Okada, since he's the ace of the company. He's already won the IWGP title a bunch of times. He needs to hold the shoot title.
But can Okada shoot?
Oh, yes. He's got that Yave style submission wrestling from Mexico.
That is true, yeah.
No, speaking of what they're really talking about, though, is it possible? I mean, anything's possible. It's 2020 in professional wrestling. We've seen some really crazy stuff, in the professional wrestling world over the past few years. There's been so many crazy things that have happened. So, it's always possible. And, New Japan has had working relationships with All Japan and Noah, specifically in the even the early to mid 2000s, late 2000s. So it's not impossible. Is it likely? I don't know. At this point, to me, it would almost be like New Japan doing a favor for those 2 companies more so than anything
doing them
else.
a huge favor. Obviously, New Japan's way bigger than All Japan and Noah right now. And that would definitely kind of raise the profile of both those companies having their top guys featured on a big New Japan show.
Yeah, and it's not just that us saying that. I understand we're a New Japan podcast. There's probably some Puroresu fans out there who are maybe taking offense at that sort of statement, and I get it. There definitely would have been a time where that wouldn't be the case at all. In fact, there have been times where All Japan and Noah have kind of helped New Japan when needed, especially some of those early Wrestle Kingdoms kind of come to mind. But the reason I'm saying that is just like where the business is for All Japan, where the business is for Noah at this point in time, and you kind of compare that to where Bushiroad New Japan is. It's not in the same league. It's maybe talent-wise in some cases, yes, but business-wise, no. I think it's interesting. I think maybe Okada's comments might just be like some fan service, to be honest with you. He's talking to a Puroresu publication on a night where there are people being awarded from all the major companies, and that is a statement that would endear him to that audience and to that fan base for sure. I would love to see it. If we're being honest, though, it's not like things like this haven't happened. They had the Destroyer Memorial Show just very recently, the Baba Memorial Show, and on those shows they did have big match. Not huge matchups,
but still you had cross promotional matchups.
Yeah, so I would like to see the companies work together. It's been a long time since New Japan had any sort of cross promotion with some of the other Puroresu companies. They've kind of became isolationists in the past years, similar to like how Dragon Gate is, which I'm not a big fan of. I like the olden days when these companies would work together from time to time. I think it was overdone a bit in the 2000s, but I'm here all day if we can end up getting a some sort of matchup where Okada is on the opposite end of a Kiyomiya or a
Kenta Miyahara,
or Kenta Miyahara. That would be awesome. I just don't know if it's possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, honestly, I don't think it's impossible. I just don't know if that's a direction that New Japan is going to want to go in right now.
Right.
It seems like they're very focused on building their brand both in Japan and internationally, and I just don't know how that really plays with other promotions. I can definitely see, obviously, from memorial shows, they'll continue to probably work with promotions for that, send guys for that. I just don't know if on a bigger level, if they want to do something like that. It would be cool to kind of get some Noah guys and All Japan guys like in the G1 again, or even have like somebody come over for like a big like title match, like IWGP title match, to kind of freshen up some title defenses.
Dude, I loved the G1 that year when they had Marufuji and who was the other? He's in Noah right now. God, what's his name?
I'm blank. I don't really know. Like Marufuji is like one of the main Noah guys I know.
Oh my God, why can't I remember his name? So he was a I'm not gonna remember on the air, so it doesn't matter. He was like a young up and coming promising prospect at the time. He's like one of the top stars in Noah. He like turned heel a couple years ago. He had a big feud. Him and Kiyomiya just had one of the biggest matches of the year earlier this year. Oh man.
Some Puroresu fan just like screaming at the podcast right now.
Chris Bryan was at that show. I cannot remember his name, but yeah, I loved it when they had the cross promotion with the Noah guys and that sort of stuff that year when Marufuji and Okada were feuding. So I would love to see. We always talk about them bringing in outside guys for G1s, and World Tag League would be better if we could bring in tag teams from these other companies, especially since they have much better tag team divisions than New Japan does. I would love to see,
especially All Japan, because they had like what they call like the real World Tag League, where they had a lot of teams.
Well, they both have tag leagues. Every company does, but they have better tag teams over there. And I would love to see. It would just be cool if they incorporated some of those guys every once in a while. I would love it. So yeah. We also had a question from Toss a Cube. What does Toss a Cube to your Witcher mean?
Well, I know Witcher is from the video game and the show Witcher.
Okay.
I don't know what tossing the cube has to do with it though.
So we have a question from @Cubicite. He says, "Do you think Okada's interview about doing a show with All Japan Noah before the Olympics is a sign that New Japan wants to start working again with other Japanese promotions?" We kind of just touched on that, but I don't think it necessarily is a sign. But I hope it will open the forbidden door.
Oh my! the forbidden Japanese door.
Yeah. After that, we had a question from Grunty Dodds. He says, "Who will be the next person to win the IWGP title for the first time?"
That is an interesting question. I'm going to go with Will Ospreay.
Ooh, no way. Kota Ibushi is going to win the title way before he does.
That's true. I forgot Ibushi hasn't won the title.
I also think Sonata might win the title before he does. If I had to like literally take a guess, I would say Sonata and Ibushi are more in line. Personally speaking, I could see hypothetically right now. Do you see where I see Will Ospreay being? I kind of see him being like where Kenny was prior to winning the G1.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect analogy, but like he's close to being elevated to the main event level. But keep in mind, Kenny Omega winning the G1 was only that first step. It was a long time before he still even won the title.
True, yeah.
I think we're waiting to see Will get elevated to true main event level first. Then once he's on the main event level, we have to get him to win the title.
Yeah, Bushi and Sanada would definitely be...
He would have to leapfrog them to get past them, and I just think he could be the next guy. He definitely could, but I think if I was just playing the numbers, playing the odds, I think that both of those guys have a better shot.
Right, and Shingo's another guy I could see in that pipeline down the line.
I could too, but I think, personally, I think that they go with Will before. I think they've got more skin in the game with Will right now than Shingo.
Yeah, I think they would definitely go Will over Shingo, and then they would go Ibushi and Sanada over Will.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Reddit user Rambones Slam Pig. He says, what are your thoughts on the Lions Break Project show for Mania weekend? Do you think the card will be similar to past ones, or will it be something a little bit different due to the Mania weekend hype? So yes, it's definitely something we had in the news. So Lions Break Project 3 coming here to our beautiful city of Tampa during WrestleMania weekend. And so we got Tanahashi announced for the show. We got Ren Narita, Carl Fredericks, Clark Connors, and Alex Coughlin all announced for April 2nd, 3 p.m. at the Ritz Ybor.
Yep. So I think it's going to be very similar to some of the other Lions Break Project shows. You know, you'll probably see some lower mid-card guys, like maybe a Taguchi, maybe Rocky Romero or something like that on those shows. Guys that are kind of involved in like coaching sort of roles. And obviously Tanahashi. I'm hoping we get Tanahashi, Carl Fredericks.
Dude, that would be amazing.
That's kind of the match I'm hoping for. I'd also settle for him and Ren Narita.
Like Tanahashi and Narita?
Yeah. Who knows? I think it's not going to be a long show. I think at most you're looking at a 2-hour show with maybe 5 or 6 matches. I think that will be the format. I think that fits right in line with how a lot of shows kind of go WrestleMania weekend, especially that early in the day. They're usually a little shorter.
Those mid-afternoon ones, they want to get you out in time to get you to your night show. This is happening. So this is happening. What day is this? So this is Thursday. So that night you have WrestleCon Super Show and Bloodsport.
Is that an afternoon show?
What?
Lions Break Project?
Yeah, it's at 3 p.m. And so you have WrestleCon Super Show and Bloodsport at 8. So I'm sure they'll want to give you a little bit of a buffer to kind of get where you're going to the next place.
I mean, that's a lot of time, though. I mean, they could hypothetically go 3 hours, go to 6, and still be fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think they'll go that long because I don't think the other Lions Break Project shows have gone that long. But it's possible. I mean, you're looking at a 2 to 3 hour show.
Yeah, I'm going to guess maybe probably like 2.5 as the max.
I'm going to go on the safe side. Just say it's probably be a 5 or 6 match 2 hour show.
Yeah.
You know, and it's probably not going to be, you know, you're not getting like these big singles matches. It's a Lions Break Project show, so I mean, you're going to get.
I still think it's going to be awesome. I do
too.
You know, we've raved over the Lion Gates Project shows that they've done. That God has kind of put on, and we love the Young Lions, and they just do a great job. Especially, you know, the LA Dojo guys are just phenomenal, and so seeing those guys in singles matches will be great. And we'll probably also see a couple other of the New Japan of America guys. We'll probably see maybe an Alex Zane, maybe an Amazing Red.
TJP.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, also, it's Mania weekend. They might even be having, hypothetically, quote-unquote, tryouts. They might have someone from the independent scene, like you said, like Alex Zane, who I guess is on these New Beginning shows, but they might incorporate him, or they might incorporate somebody else. We don't know.
Maybe some OAO.
Yeah.
No.
Continuation of his question, he said, Killer Cross put out a fan poll on Twitter asking where he should perform next. NJPW was one of the choices. Do you think there would be mutual interest, and would it be a good fit? Yes and yes.
Dude, yeah, Killer Cross, the little bit I've seen of him is awesome. I think he would definitely fit in a New Japan environment, especially kind of he has like almost like a strong style type of vibe to his matches. I know he's done Bloodsport before.
Yep, I was there.
And he just has like a very just like almost a Suzuki-gun type of vibe that I think he would fit perfectly well in New Japan.
The match he had at Bloodsport last year with Davey Boy Smith Jr. freaking ruled. One of the like 2 or 3 best matches of that show, which was an incredible show, by the way. But I don't know if New Japan would be interested necessarily, but he has the look. He's got an incredible physique. He has an incredible intensity. He's a no-nonsense guy. He reminds me of many of the Gaijin workers that were in New Japan in the mid-2000s. They don't have too many Gaijin his size in the heavyweight sort of division right now, and he can really work. They would be stupid to not have some level of interest, and I think he should also have some level of interest.
Right.
But I also wonder, WWE probably should want him, and so should AEW, so I don't know.
Right. He's going to be one of the hottest free agents. I think he's finally got released from Impact. But honestly, I think he's probably going to be WWE bound. His girlfriend, I don't think they're married, but girlfriend, what's her name? I'm blanking on her name.
Is it the Smoke Show?
Yes, Smoke Show.
What's her name?
I'm blanking on her name right now.
I don't know.
Yeah, the Smoke Show. she's signed to NXT.
Dude, we forgot. Why are we forgetting everyone's names?
How could I forget the Smoke Show's name? But yeah, she's signed to NXT right now. So I could definitely see, wanting to kind of stay close to her and signing an NXT contract. I could definitely see that happening. But I could also see, AEW, especially with their new TV deal being announced, the extension of that TV deal, and the money they'll be getting from that, they could sign. They could play, put a big bid in for a guy like Killer Cross.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next question comes from Reddit user psan91. What are your thoughts? Oh, Scarlett Bordeaux is her name, right?
Scarlett Bordeaux.
But yeah, just came back to me. Yeah. Reddit question from Reddit user psan91. What are your thoughts on a lot of NJPW talent being announced for Super Card of Honor show during WrestleMania weekend? Do you think it's a sign of the NJPW and ROH partnership getting stronger again? So another news item that we had here was just all these crazy announcements of the ROH Supercard show that's going to be happening on Lakeland Saturday of WrestleMania week. And so they have announced Will Ospreay, Taiji Ishimori, El Phantasmo, Kenta, Dragon Lee, Jeff Cobb, and Jay White. As of this recording are some of the New Japan names that have been announced for the show. And we've kind of heard rumors with Marty Scurll's deal taking a part of the booking team that he's planning on, strengthening all the relationships that Ring of Honor has, and definitely that New Japan relationship. New Japan, they love Marty, and so it definitely seems like this whole Marty being on the booker team was in the works, and Marty has been working on this deal for a while.
Katsuhiko Nakajima.
That's the guy you were talking about.
That's who I was trying to remember from the 2016 G1 Climax, who is the same age as me, 31. Yeah. So my thoughts on the New Japan talent being announced for Supercard of Honor. It's definitely a sign that New Japan and Ring of Honor partnership is stronger than it was. And as you mentioned, I think it has everything in the world to do with what's going on with Marty Scurll. Absolutely. Like, we know for a fact that New Japan Pro Wrestling had interest in him. And, yeah, it's really crazy because you kind of look at the timeline of things. I mean, there are different things we've kind of discussed in the past. The fact that New Japan Pro Wrestling was running literally in the exact same cities at the exact same venues earlier this year that traditionally Ring of Honor runs, but they ran those shows, tours, and dates without any Ring of Honor presence, without any Ring of Honor talent. Ring of Honor has done multiple tours this year that traditionally would have involved New Japan Pro Wrestling talent. Little to no interaction there. We didn't get... they usually run two tours, like Global Wars and War of the Worlds.
Right, they used CMLL
for Global Wars.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a New Japan Global Wars tour with Ring of Honor like we normally do. Just almost no real interaction all year. I mean, the last substantial interaction between the two companies kind of seems like it was in the summer when GOD was holding the ROH championships, and after that was kind of like non-existent. Also keep in mind when all of the there was all of that controversy surrounding the stuff with was it Joey Mercury?
Yeah.
And there was like leaked, there was all the leaked
texts and tweets of what Hikuleo and how he was treated and how the New Japan guys were treated.
And so it definitely seemed like there was tensions and also keep in mind, we're not even getting a Honor Rising tour, in the next few months like we normally do. So, I mean, these are all very clear indications that there's been a strain between the two companies. At the same time, Harold Mai has been very reluctant when asked about it to ever say anything other than the fact that they are still working together, say anything other than that, when they're still partners and that when they're, that when New Japan has a partner, they go into, it's almost like a marriage. Joe Koff has mentioned multiple times that they still maintain their New Japan affiliation. And, now that we kind of have found out what's going on with Marty Scurll, you look at it and Marty literally was able to kind of parlay his contract status into having negotiations with AEW, probably having offers from WWE as well. We know that there is definitely interest from New Japan. He was able to kind of parlay all of that into basically re-signing with Ring of Honor. And if you remember, like, you had mentioned a few weeks back that you were like, Marty's done, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm hearing that there's a possibility that he might work dates past that time. Mm-hmm. Once Villain Enterprises didn't drop the 6-man tag titles, a clear indication that something was up. Obviously, after that, he ended up showing up at what was it called, Into the Fire?
Yes, the NWA pay-per-view.
The NWA pay-per-view. He kind of made his debut there. We all thought Marty was completely AEW bound for sure, especially once they leaked proposed Marty Scurll merchandise with the AEW logos on it, and he started getting mentioned more and more on
being the Elite. There's the picture of him towards that one scene with Hangman Page.
But what we know now is like Marty's basically re-signed with Ring of Honor.
2-year deal.
2-year deal. So now we know a date. We know an end date. We're not going to have to speculate for the next 2 years.
Right.
He's only got to work 40 dates a year. He has a prominent position on the booking committee, and he's making, 6-figure pay.
He's making main roster WWE money. He can work NWA. He can work New Japan. We'll see if the AEW thing works out, but he can work multiple. He can do international dates. He can work indies.
And the talk of the town is that basically his re-signing is basically a good faith testament to the relationships between Ring of Honor and all those companies. We saw Ring of Honor was working with NWA last year, and then once Joe Logana. Is that his name?
Dave Lagana.
I'm sorry. Dave Lagana, once he left Ring of Honor, that relationship went south. They broke apart. They weren't working together. I guess just recently Nick Aldis showed up on Ring of Honor television again?
Right, yeah. You had Nick Aldis. First you had Marty showing up at NWA, and then Nick Aldis kind of retaliated and showed up, and I think he attacked Marty at one of the TV tapings, and so at the Hard Times pay-per-view, they're doing Flip Gordon versus Nick Aldis in a match, and then also
which is a rematch of a title match that they had the year prior on Ring of Honor television.
Right, for Flip to try and get on All In.
Yep.
And then there's also a tag match coming up on the Freak Enterprises show, Marty and Flip against Aldis and Roosh.
So that shows right there that there's just literally by the deal that Marty was able to procure for himself, it also has strengthened the relationship between Ring of Honor and NWA. Also, one of the last prominent times that we saw Ring of Honor working with New Japan in Japan was during the Best Super Juniors tour last year when Villain Enterprises was featured as a highlight, and they sent Marty as the Ring of Honor, representative during that tour. So since then, it's kind of been quiet, and now it seems like suddenly he's re-signed, and suddenly Supercard of Honor is announced, and suddenly we've got literally all the top players from New Japan on that tour, and it's like, well, where did that come from?
Right, yeah. All of a sudden, the Ring of Honor decides to run a New Japan show.
Yeah. I also think that some of that might have to do with New Japan losing their television deal with Access. That might have quite a bit to do with the reinvigorated partnership with these two companies. But I mean, nothing about this, truth be told, we didn't know this was in the play. I don't think anybody really knew what was happening, but it didn't happen overnight. This is not a sudden thing at all.
Right. It's not like one day all of a sudden, Harold May and Gato just changed their mind and we're like, all right, we'll start saying New Japan guys there.
Right. I think, the reports are that Marty's wanting to repair the relationships between New Japan and Ring of Honor, as well as NWA and Ring of Honor. And I think we're seeing the first building blocks towards that right now. The other thing, too, is he's talking about trying to build a bridge between AEW and Ring of Honor as well. Now, whether that's doable or not, I don't know. But, to kind of answer your question, my thoughts on it is that the partnership is definitely being strengthened, even if it's for at least just one show. This is a step in the right direction, positively speaking, for these two companies to continue their working relationship and talent trade and all that.
Right. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens come Best of Super Junior G1 Tag League and see what happens in those 3 tournaments, see if we're going to get some more Ring of Honor guys. Maybe I'm guessing Marty's going to work Super Juniors again, and we'll get some more Ring of Honor guys maybe sprinkled out throughout these tournaments.
Yeah, I think this is one of the bigger news stories of the year. As crazy as it seems, is just what the implications of Marty Scurll re-signing with Ring of Honor have kind of the ripple effects that it's kind of created throughout the rest of the wrestling industry for sure.
Yeah, it's not kind of a side story of this mentioning Ring of Honor guys. So for World Tag League, Villain Enterprises were supposed to be in World Tag League, but Brody King had got injured, and so they got pulled from the tour.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, PCO revealed that in an interview after he won the world title. We're definitely supposed to get those guys.
Well, that's big stuff. Let's move on. So we had a question from Just a Little Bear 01. He said, should Teddy Hart be signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling? The troll count certainly thinks so. So I'll say this. Number 1, no. Number 2, I don't know what the troll account is.
So there's a Teddy Hart account. I'm not sure if it's him, but kind of there's an account on Reddit. I think it's called like Teddy Hart is back. Kind of vouching for Teddy Hart to be signed somewhere like Ring of Honor, New Japan, somewhere big. Here's the thing, Teddy Hart. I think he's a very talented. He was having a good run in MLW. Got released there. A lot of, crazy stuff he's been getting involved in or his name has been attached to. I don't think from that standpoint, from a good, from a PR standpoint, and just some of the stuff that Teddy Hart could be potentially mixed up with would be good for New Japan.
Yeah, I agree with that. Teddy Hart has had issues every single place he has ever worked his entire career.
Right. MLW was the one place that everything seemed to be fine. A lot of people were saying Court Bauer was like this, whisperer of, bad attitudes because, he had him doing fine. Low-Key was doing fine.
Right. You
had all these guys that typically have bad attitudes and get kind of booted from wherever they go. Austin Aries and Court was kind of able to calm them down. But with whatever happened, Teddy Hart got released from MLW and he's kind of doing GCW and indie stuff. But yeah, I have a hard time seeing him get in one of the major promotions right now.
Yep. Next question. Place your bets. Who's Gardenia kissing next?
Well, so he's been kissing Bushi, Bushi, Evil, and Shingo. I'm guessing Sonata and Naito and Hiromu would have to be next up, right? Move on to the other 3 members.
Yeah, I think he should finish the trifecta. It's sort of like the Infinity Stones.
Yeah, the LIJ Stones. He also, Highest Fly Flow also asks, any recommendations for some good CTU Liger and Battle Liger matches? I watched the Hashimoto match, and I really want to see more of Liger in these costumes.
Oh, man. I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known that this question was being asked. I actually don't have any good answers off the top of my head. Let's do this. Give me a week. and I'll get some recommendations. I really don't have any good recommendations off the top of my head. I know there's probably like I think there's a Kendo Kashin match. I think there's a Takaiwa match and an Otani match for CTU Liger. I know he worked as CTU Liger in TNA.
Yeah.
For Battle Liger, I know. Well, when he was Battle Liger, he was mainly working heavyweights, so I know there's probably some G1 matches. But I would need that is a period of New Japan that I know about, but I'm not as familiar as maybe some other people. So I would maybe need a week. I can't, I can't pop those off the top of my head as the way I could with the Nakanishi stuff the other week.
Next question from Reddit user Eater of Bread. If the young boy could choose where to go on excursion, which promotion would he pick and why?
I would choose Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling.
Oh, man, get in there with Dax the Axe,
Dax
Aaron
the
Nova.
The Technical Alchemist, David Mercury.
Yes, Rod Grimes, the Scoundrel.
The Scoundrel, Shooter Sandy.
Hey, you get a match with Jay, maybe?
Yep, Jay Lethal. They got Wheezy and
Wheezy. The good old boys.
Dick Danger.
Yeah. The Crocodile Hunter dude.
They just got so much talent in that promotion. It's also not too far from home, so be a short-lived excursion. I could come sleep in my own bed at night. Learn from some of the best, and that's where I would go.
Nice.
Let's be clear. I don't want to be a pro wrestler. I'm not about that bump life at all. Like, I don't want to take a bump. Nothing. If I would do a wrestling match if I had to take no bumps. If I could,
you want to wrestle that Lance Storm no bump style.
The no bump style, yeah.
So next question from Reddit user Viking Pain. He says, "What are yours, Jeremy and Youngboy, predictions for one wrestler and one faction? Mine is Jonathan Gresham joins Suzuki-gun, with Kanemaru and SB operating now as more of a tag team, and Doki being the team pin eater. Taco's old job. Gresham could come in and be the junior ace the team needs, plus he's tailor-made for Suzuki-gun with the way he wrestles, and his new octopus mask is badass. As for factions, I think this year New Japan will finally get a sixth faction. Maybe Marty will bring Villain Enterprises to New Japan since he wants to grow the brand worldwide." So one wrestler, one faction. So I'm guessing he's saying...
So he wants us to predict something pertaining to a wrestler. It could be anything.
Gotcha.
And the other thing is pertaining to one of the factions. Yeah. Man, I wish I would have known about this one. These are some deep cuts here. I don't know. What are your predictions?
Let's see. Prediction for one wrestler.
Well, I'll make one prediction right now. My prediction is concerning Kazuchika Okada. I think he doesn't touch the IWGP title for the rest of the calendar year. And I think we see him gain the IC title for the first time in his career in this calendar year.
Mine's I think it's a pretty easy prediction that's probably going to happen pretty soon. I think Shingo Takagi is going to win his first singles title this year.
if we were doing the 2020 prediction show that Brian Alvarez does with the bold predictions, that is not a bold prediction, sir.
Also, I'll stick to my Evil's turning prediction as well.
Is that your faction or is that your wrestler?
I'll do that for the bomb wrestler. Evil's turning heel this year on LIJ. Let's see, for faction.
For faction, I think Odeotai is going to infiltrate New Japan Pro Wrestling. I actually don't know who Odeotai is. I just hear them all the time.
It's like one of the top heel
I know
factions that Kagetsu used to lead. I don't want to say spoilers. There's been a big shakeup of Odeotai. I don't want to upset the Joshi fans because I know the full show's not up yet, and there was a big angle towards the end.
I'm out here spoiling without even knowing it.
I know. I don't want to, in case James tunes in, I don't want him to.
James ain't tuning in.
I know. James will listen to every other freaking podcast under the sun, but doesn't show much love to his boys. But anyway, I don't want to spoil, the ending there of the last Stardom Cork and Hall show for the Joshi fans out there.
I'm trying to think of a good faction prediction.
I I'm going to say Bullet Club adds another member this year.
I'm going to say that there will be a power struggle within Bullet Club between Jay White and Kenta some point in the calendar year, or at least the seeds of a power struggle between the two of them, leading to Kenta taking the Japanese talent out of Bullet Club, namely Taiji Ishimori and Yujiro Takahashi. Is it Yujiro?
Yep, Yujiro. Yep. Tokyo Pimp.
Is it Yujiro Takahashi?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Sometimes I just get names confused. Is there any other Japanese talent there?
Peter.
It will be a fearsome foursome of Kenta, Yujiro, Taiji, and Peter. They will split off.
Kenta-gun.
They'll split off. I don't know what they'll be called, but Kenta's gonna bamboozle Jay White. He's gonna be even more dastardly than Jay White can handle, and he's gonna split off and take some guys. I also think he might incorporate members, Japanese. It'll be a completely strictly Japanese stable, and he'll take some other guys from some other stables, some other Japanese guys. I don't know who. But
The Mole and Chaos will finally turn.
That's my prediction, although I don't think it's happening.
And he also had a bonus question. Who's the bigger geek, Goto or Ricochet?
Ricochet for sure. So I don't watch Raw, but I was watching Raw briefly, like just a little bit last night, because my girl was like, I want to watch Raw. We always watch this Japanese wrestling. And I was like, all right, let's watch it. And the whole time I'm like talking about how terrible the show is. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Do you understand why this doesn't? And she's like, it's a show for children. I'm like, then why is the entire fan base 50 up? Like, I was like, it's not a show for children. It's a show for Vince McMahon. That's who this show is for. And then like Brock's out, and she's like, she gets excited face. She's like, oh, Brock Lesnar's out. It's a big deal, right? And I'm like, all right, well, let's just wait and see. And then Ricochet comes out, and I'm like, my God, I know exactly what's going to happen. She's like, you don't know. And I was like, Ricochet's going to come out here and get his ass beat for no reason. She's like, that's not true. They're trying to push him. They see big things from him. I'm like, no, then why did he get his ass beat all those weeks by
AJ?
No, it wasn't just AJ. What's the guy from Scotland?
Oh, McIntyre.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre like has fucked him up a bunch of times. Like this guy be out here losing all the time. I'm like, no, he's little and he's gonna come out here and just get beat up by Brock. He gets in the ring and Brock kicks him in the dick and then walks away. And I was like, all right, you tell me who's getting pushed in this situation.
It's a very interesting style push, I guess.
Yeah, he got pushed with Brock's foot to his dick.
Yeah, I definitely have to go Ricochet. His stock has definitely dropped since being on the main roster and just finds himself in, not the best situations, getting kicked in the dick, being beaten several times by AJ, McIntyre, other guys. So, yeah, definitely Ricochet.
Bro, Ricochet, can you imagine a year, if you would have told me 3 years ago that there'd be a time when Rich Latta was a bigger fan of
Will Ospreay
than Ricochet? I would have said you were lying.
Said you'd be smoking crack.
But that's what WWE does to guys, man.
Yeah. Then a final question here from our boy Ricky from the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show right here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. He says, if you could have a dream match between anyone in NJPW and WWE/AEW, what would that match be? I may or may not have asked a similar question in the past.
I have so many dream matches between these two companies. So many. And I also consider, when I say dream matches, I'm considering the whole of the WWE, quote unquote, universe.
So NXT UK.
All N205 Live, all of it. But my number one above all other matches is Brock Lesnar versus Tomohiro Ishii.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's my match. That is my dream match. And this is not no WWE Ishii gets ass beat by Brock Lesnar. No, this is a strong style New Japan style match. Strong style match. Yeah, bro. Two of the greatest sellers and two of the most fearsome individuals. Can you imagine like how great Brock would sell for Ishii after like he beats Ishii's ass for all this time, and then Ishii starts chopping Brock in the throat. Oh my god!
And just the elbows,
Brock be covering up.
Bumbling.
These are the two best bumblers in the in wrestling today. Nobody bumbles as good as either of those two guys. Like that match would fucking rule. You got one?
Yeah, I don't think it's happened. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I would like to see Walter versus Shingo Takagi. Have they wrestled before?
Probably.
I know they were both in that WWN system, so they might have wrestled before.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did something for like WXW, or the 16 Gold Carat, maybe.
Right, maybe. But I haven't seen it, so that's a match I want to see. I want to see Walter today versus Shingo today, right now. So that would be a big matchup I would like to see.
It's happened. Let me take a look here. It happened. PWG Battle of Los Angeles 2018.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that was pretty recent. Yeah, I forgot that both of those guys were in Bola.
It's got an 8.0 average rating on Cage Match.
So I'll need to grab that DVD and watch that match. See, I didn't think of something else.
Let's keep going. I like this.
Keep going. While I think of my other one. You have another one?
I've got an easy one. I don't know if it would be great. I really don't know if it'd be great because I think one of these guys really needs a story to have a great match. But to me, in 1995, and it's a similar situation because I don't know if it would have actually been a great match. But if you would have taken the two best big match performers in the world from America and from Japan, you would have ended up with Shawn Michaels and Mitsuharu Misawa. That would have been a dream match. I don't know how good it would have been, but you've got two of the greatest talents of that time period in that year. So in that same vein, in 2020, I would like to see, Will Ospreay versus Johnny Gargano.
Ooh, yeah, that would be a great matchup.
You got any other ones?
Let's see. I would like to see Tyler Bate versus Hiromu Takahashi.
Oh, well, my dream match for a long time was Hiromu and Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
That was one that I was saying on the show for a long time. So, yeah, I would either of those two matches. I've got another one. It used to be Shibata versus Cesaro. That, would have freaking ruled. Mm-hmm. I got to go Cesaro. Who can we put Cesaro up against in New Japan that would, just freaking, he would kill it with?
I'd say Shingo or Ishii.
I'm going to go Kota Ibushi.
Oh, okay.
Cesaro versus Ibushi.
Dude, that match would be nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Devlin.
Oh, God.
Versus Kazuchika Okada.
That would be awesome. You know what? If you could put Tanahashi up against anybody in WWE, who would it be?
In the whole universe, right? Not just the main roster.
I think I would almost want to go Cena.
Yeah, I think you would have to do the Cena match.
I almost think you would have to, if you were given the ultimate dream book, you also might want to just go Roman Okada.
Right.
I don't know.
Or you could do Orton Okada. No. Just tell Orton not to do any rest holds in the match.
I mean, who's the top guy in WWE? Is it Roman, I guess? Kind of? Not really?
Not the way he's been booked.
I got to tell you, there's nobody I want to see wrestle Seth Rollins.
But Josh, he's the best wrestler in the world.
Oh, my God. Oh, man. I don't know. How about I'll do one last one. I would like to see Matt Riddle versus... Oh, man, who would be a good guy? Who would be good for Matt Riddle to wrestle in New Japan?
I think I would go Riddle Ibushi. Both those guys throwing knees.
That's a good one. That's such a good one. I don't know. I already did it. I almost want to see him and Ishii.
Yeah.
I want to see Ishii wrestle everybody. But
didn't Ishii and Riddle wrestle?
I don't know. I mean, we saw Will Ospreay and Riddle wrestle live.
Yeah.
That was freaking amazing.
I feel like Riddle and Ishii wrestled on one of those.
No, I got it. Let's go Shingo and Matt Riddle.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You got a last one?
Anything Well, he also said WWE/AEW. So let me see if there's...
Oh, he said AEW?
He said WWE/AEW.
Bro, I was thinking it was just WWE.
Let's see. Let me pick an AEW one.
I got one.
All right.
Kenny Omega versus
Kazuchika
Kazuchika Okada.
Oh,
Easy.
Man. Let's see. I mean, obviously, a lot of their top guys are in New Japan, like Moxley and Jericho. So
let's not mention Mox. Let's not mention Jericho because they're already there.
Right. Let's see. Let's see. Pac.
Yeah, I mean, Pac was like immediately who I was thinking of.
The bastard Pac. Let's see. Who can we put Pac up against?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Literally.
Let's go Pac versus Ryuli.
That would be awesome. I mean, I would like to go Pac Ibushi. Yep. Dustin Rhodes against Minoru Suzuki.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Sammy Guevara versus Will Ospreay.
It's like, yeah, that'd be cool. It's like some kind of the same stuff though. I don't know.
Yeah, nice little Rich Latta pro wrestling match.
If you want my honest opinion, there's some really good talent in AEW, but there's not a lot of like crossover guys that really like. Okay, you know who I would want to see is more than Sammy Guevara, freaking Darby Allin.
Oh yes, Darby.
I'd want to see Darby Allin wrestle one of the top juniors.
Dude, Darby and Hiromu.
No. Darby and Taiji Ishimori.
Oh, yeah, both those guys like it's lightning fast. Flipping, yeah.
I mean, freaking A. There's like so many matches. I mean, Cody, yeah. Cody's already wrestled.
Right, he's already been in, yeah. I think, is there any other like top guy that would produce like dream, quote unquote,
Shima?
Dream?
I would love to see Shima wrestle some guys in New Japan just because it's never happened. You know? I don't know.
Shima, Okada.
But I mean, Kenny's wrestled everybody. And like
right.
Kenny's the main guy. And then beyond that, like most of the elite guys, you know. So for me, like the interesting people that we've never seen would be like, to me, Pac, Darby Allin, I don't know, Shima. I don't know who else is there that I really want to see wrestle New Japan guys other than that.
Nakazawa versus Toru Yano.
Oh my God.
Nakazawa versus Taguchi.
All right, I think we're done.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps the questions up. Now we just got a few news items. Several of them we've kind of already covered in questions. So first we got some announcements here, WrestleMania weekend. So Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 3. We have the main event. The Death Rider, Jon Moxley, will be taking on Josh Barnett in the match that was postponed due to Moxley's injury back in the fall of last year. Also announced for that show, we have Minoru Suzuki versus Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson. So that should be a lot of fun. Then we already mentioned the Ring of Honor Supercard announcements. We mentioned the New Japan Lions Break Project 3 being at WrestleCon. The Bullet Club will be bringing back their party. Last year they had the block party in New York. They're doing the beach party this year on April 4th here in Tampa, WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, and they've announced Bandito's going to be part of it, and so is Flip Gordon.
Gordon, yeah. So all the Bullet Club guys, obviously. Then you have some Ring of Honor guys as well.
I also want to say this. Right now, and I think we're both in the same camp, we have tickets to
NXT
TakeOver. Not only do we have tickets, we've got really good tickets, like 100 section, like they're awesome. We got a good price on them. But now, and then like when they're like, you know, Jay White is coming to Ring of Honor Supercard, I was like, that's interesting. Well, we'll see. And then they're like, ELP is coming. I was like, and then like Will Ospreay is coming, Ishimori is coming, Kenta is coming, Dragon Lee is coming, Jeff Cobb is coming. I'm like,
I know.
And I'm like, I'm really like, I'm waiting for a card, but I'm very, very, very close to being like, all right, I'm selling my takeover tickets
and going
to
driving to Lakeland, driving the 40 minutes to Lakeland.
So my girlfriend is like a diehard WWE fan, like lifelong, and she doesn't really watch NXT. She's like peripherally aware of it.
She's one of the casuals that we thought didn't exist.
Yeah, she's a casual. Well, she's not really casual because she's diehard about the main roster. She knows all
Right.
about that and stuff. But when I was like, hey, would it be okay if we sold these NXT tickets if push comes to shove? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'm trying to see Shingo. She's like, I'm trying to see Shingo and Ishii. She's like, at this point, I know more about the New Japan guys than I do about the NXT guys, so I'm down.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely some tough decisions there. Even that Thursday night, I mean, I have Bloodsport tickets, but WrestleCon Super Show is getting loaded up with some of their announcements as
Bro,
well.
you bought premium tickets to that show.
Just 4 for 0. Wasn't that...
Why aren't you going GA with me, bro?
Well, man, friend of the show, Dan Coffin, he hit me up. He didn't want to do GA. He didn't want to do standing room only for this.
Why does Dan keep paying premium prices for all these tickets? Because I can't afford to be paying premium prices for all these tickets. And then y'all jump in and be like, all right, I'm down. And I'm like, God. And then I feel like a loser. I don't want to go to these shows and be the one person that's got GA, and then I'm sitting by myself. But like I kind of need to because that's all I can afford. Y'all not think about me. Just think about yourself.
Oh man, other WrestleMania weekend announcements.
Why didn't you address what I just said? You just minimized my feelings about it. God, I hate you all. All right, let's move on.
So Will Ospreay announced for Joey Janela Spring Break 4, and Joey Janela saying it's going to be one of the best indie shows. So obviously getting Will Ospreay is a good start there. New Japan World, there was a reported increase of about 20,000 new subscribers, roughly about the same amount of last year from the Wrestle Kingdom bump. We talked about the Okada comments about doing his Super Show thing over the summer when the Olympics are there. We mentioned, too, that Carl Fredericks was on the official New Japan English podcast.
Check it out. It's pretty good, actually.
Then we had the Tama Tonga Enzo feud continuing to heat up.
We need a sound bite to like Rich make us a sound bite for Tama Tonga and Enzo so we could play it on the show every week. Just like a 3-second clip, like I don't know, something.
So we had 5 days ago, Tama tweeted out a video challenging Enzo. Say, you want a boxing match, you want a shoot match, what do you want? Like whatever we do, whatever promotion books it.
You notice he didn't say a worked match.
Right.
He said a shoot match
or a boxing.
You want to catch these hands is what he's basically saying.
He said whatever promotion books it, all the money will go to charity. Then Josh Barnett chimed in because everybody was tagging him and Enzo and Tama. He says, if they want to get in my blood sport ring, then they can hit me up and we'll put something together. Then today, Enzo came out and claimed that GCW offered him $25,000 to appear at Bloodsport, but he turned it down. And he said, if we're really going to do it for charity, it won't be on anyone's platform. And also talk about being contacted by the Ritz, which is running the Lions Break Project show, to be showing up there.
Oh my God.
And then GCW has come out and denied that them or Josh Barnett has offered Enzo any money to appear on Bloodsport. And of course, Enzo was saying
they called him Clownzo.
Yeah, they called him Clownzo. Enzo blocked them, said that they were lying. So yeah, what do you think about this whole Tama Tonga Enzo stuff?
I think I don't think Enzo wants to smoke. That's what I think. I really don't have much more thought about it. Like I can tell you right now, Tama would beat that ass. He's the son of fucking Haku. End of story.
Yeah, Enzo also, calling out Haku. Well, he said he's going to do Haku a favor.
Haku would beat Enzo's ass right now.
Yeah, Enzo's messing with the wrong family here.
Yo, you're going to get your eye, like, if it went down to a real fight, like right now on the street, Tama would take Enzo's eye. And I'm not saying like shut it closed, bloody it up. I'm saying he would pull it out of his fucking head. Like Tama Tonga would like murk this dude. Like he does not want smoke with Tama Tonga. This dude was in the freaking military. He was in war. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like he was an active duty member. Like Enzo can't fight, bro. Like what is happening? Like Enzo would get murked.
Yeah, and honestly, like, it's all fun and games with them kind of shooting on each other, promos, but I do not want to see, these guys really. I don't want to see a shoot fight.
Oh, I do.
I don't want to see a boxing match.
Oh, I
do. You want to see Tamo just tear this guy apart?
Absolutely. Nobody likes Enzo.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I definitely don't want to see it on Bloodsport.
I mean, the whole thing, Tama Tonga said, all the proceeds are going to go to charity because, he's trying to get this dude not paid and his ass beat.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Then some final news items here. We have very well mentioned on this show, Barbaro Cavernario will be appearing on WrestleCon, and he's going to be facing Caveman Ugg on the WrestleCon Worldwide show. So something that people have been clamoring for, the two cavemen
the match
going
should
at
have
it.
made last year. I don't know why no promoter didn't make that match last year.
Right, so it's finally been willed into existence, Cavernario versus Caveman Ugg at WrestleCon Worldwide. Also, former NJPW talent Alex Shelley also announced for Joey Janela Spring Break 4. Also, former NJPW star Davey Boy Smith Jr. is signed for Bloodsport. And then a final note here, kind of a sad note here. So we did have the passing of Rocky Johnson last week, father of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And Chris Charlton tweeted this out. Rocky Johnson's presence was well felt in New Japan as it was in so many places. In his single 1-month tour, he wrestled a who's who of the era with singles matches against Inoki, Kobayashi, Fujinami, and Choshu, while teaming with Bad News Allen and Stan Hansen as well. R.I.P.
Yep. Thoughts and prayers go out to the Johnson family.
Yeah, and also definitely, if you are a Wrestling Observer Radio subscriber, I definitely recommend listening to the episode where Dave kind of gives a little history on Rocky Johnson and some highlights of his career. A lot of stuff I didn't know about, first time kind of hearing, and thought Dave did a real good job with that.
I knew it all.
Well, you're the encyclopedia, man.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that stuff. I thought it was a really good listen, actually. And that's going to take us to the final segment of the week.
Yes, the recommended match of the week. And we are, getting ready to jump into the New Beginning tour. So I'm rewind the clock back to New Beginning in Sendai in 2015 for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, the main event, Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata taking on the champion, the reigning defending champion at the time, Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I know that this was the same card that had the 5-star Ishii and
Shibata?
No, Ishii and Hanma match. And I was looking at the reviews for this match. A lot of people had it in the 3.5 range. Kind of had it was an all right match. I don't know. I watched the match this weekend. I thought it ruled. I had it more in the 4-star range.
Yes.
They had the VTR kind of showing, Yuji Nagata with his kids, kind of, the good old family man. He was kind of teasing retirement because he was in the pre-show Rumble at Wrestle Kingdom that year and won it. And, he was kind of sad. He was on the pre-show, not on the main card. And then ended up, challenging Nakamura for the IC title. And I thought this match was great. These guys it was your strong style match. These guys were throwing forearms, knees, hitting each other very hard. Obviously Nagata's great at suplexes. So is Nakamura. So a lot of strikes, a lot of suplexes. And obviously at the end of the day, Nagata did end up eating a Bomaye and failing to win the IC title. I thought it was a great match, and that is my recommended match of the week. Yuji Nagata versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the New Beginning in Sendai 2015. And yes, guys, I'm still have it on my list to work on the page of getting all of the recommended matches of the week uploaded in one place. It just kind of fell on the back burner between getting everything over to Red Circle and some other stuff, New Japan year and ebook stuff, and I got to get my my ballot in for the year end, the match of the year for 2019 for Voice of Wrestling also. So I still have it on my list to get the recommended match of the week list all up in one place on socialsuplex.com. But thank you for, watching our recommended matches of the week and giving us feedback on those. So that's going to wrap things up for this week. Next week, we will be back with our review of The New Beginning in Tampa, also our predictions for The New Beginning in Sapporo. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on that donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo.
Yes.
Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can also follow us at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, you can find us at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. We have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. We have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling, Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. We have Get in the Ring with Danny and Beast Mike. And we have All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr., Amy O, and Tiffany. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, especially you Apple podcasters. I have the data. I see that majority of you guys listen on Apple Podcasts. Please leave us that rating and review. It helps us out a lot. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Jeremy calling out all you Apple listeners.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.